last week, running from the heat, but the beat's coming alive. Let's get lost tonight. Lord, who's on my right?
Hello, wackos. Welcome to another episode of Without a Country. I am Corinne Fisher. I am your host. I can't believe I'm going to say this, Mike, but I feel like my headphones are a little low for once in my whole life. I like my voice to be very loud in my own ears. This is the one time of the week when I only have to hear my own voice, and well, while people on the internet, yeah, that's beautiful, thank you, are conflicted about this, it is a pleasurable experience for me. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. I, of course, want to shout out our dictator, Hannah Pendergrass. Of course, if you're in the Chicago area, you're going to want to look up Hannah Pendergrass Color and Extensions, and you're going to want to make an appointment because you want to be a hot, sexy lady. Or I don't know if she does men too. I'm guessing she does men. Probably. I don't know if you want extensions, but maybe you do. I don't want to gender extensions. You can certainly have extensions as a man if you want them. I don't really know a lot of men with extensions, but hey, you be the first in the Chicago area and tell me how it goes. And of course, after you check out Hannah's business and you love it and you have a great experience and you become a regular client, you're going to want to leave her a glowing review on Google, on Yelp. Tell a friend, post about your hair and tag her on Instagram, whatever you want to do. She didn't even tell me to say this. I just think that it's great. You want to support a small business. You want to support a woman-owned business. You want to support a wacko-owned business. You want to support a fucker-owned business. These are all great things. And then we have so many new Patreon members this week. Thank you so much. I want to shout out my capitalist pigs, Kate Miller, Danielle Hagan, Ryan Rose, and my new cutie, Rosalind Gleave. Thank you so much for being here, guys. What a wonderful time to be alive, ? All right, so I didn't know if I was going to talk about this because I didn't officially announce it online yet, but me and you guys, we're very close here on Without a Country. You guys are my squad, so I'll just break it here. We did, meaning the Corinne Fisher for Mayor campaign. We did go to the appellate court yesterday, and we appealed because we did lose the initial case with the Supreme Court. My attorneys did not agree with why we lost. It was really some really small details. There was an issue in the filing that had nothing to do with me or my campaign, but it was because the Board of Elections was supposed to provide certain information to my attorneys ahead of the hearing, and they only gave them the information in the courtroom. And it was this affirmation that needed to be included with the paperwork that was filed. So, they kind of screwed us over. Again, I'm sure it was on purpose. But there's really no way to prove that. They can just say, we were bogged down with paperwork. Anyway, long story short, unfortunately, I found out last night that we did lose the appeal. So basically, we have exhausted our options. There's nothing really more to do. So unfortunately, the campaign trail does end for me here. It ended last night, technically. I had a terrible migraine from all the stress, and I was vomiting into a Key Foods bag. But I filmed my concession speech and video a couple hours ago. And so that will probably be online tomorrow. But I felt weird, knowing the information and not telling it to you, for those of you who are streaming live on YouTube. It's interesting because I think I already went through the mourning process when we first had the initial knock off the ballot in April. So I've been dealing with this for weeks. It's been super stressful. It's been expensive. It's been time consuming. Your campaign fund is just depleting while this is going on because I have all this, staff that's on salary, and I have to keep them because if I tell them to get another job, then I have no campaign staff if the campaign continues. And obviously they deserve to be paid. It's not their fault. and but I didn't really feel comfortable asking for money up until about a week ago, when I felt comfortable revealing what had gone down in court. And I did send out an email if anyone wanted to help out with the court, the attorney fees, and a lot of people chipped in, and thank you so much for that. But yeah, so I mean, if you contributed this, or if you're upset right now, the thing that upset me most when I found out that we were being, our ballot access was being challenged, was not it was not for myself. Like, I had already gotten out of this experience by the time I was alerted, mid last month, what I needed to. But I just was so upset personally, because I didn't want your guys' takeaway from this experience to be that we don't have any control over our government. And that's what I was most upset about. That's certainly not why I set out, for you to lose further faith in your government. I set out, as usual, as is my MO, in pursuit of the truth. And I had an idea what the truth would be. And it was actually bleaker than I had even assessed. And you know me, I usually have a pretty bleak assessment of what's going on to begin with. So while that was disheartening, and what I've talked about many times is the thing that I haven't, and I know it's like beating a dead horse, which you shouldn't do because it's already dead. But what I don't want you to lose faith in or become apathetic towards is the power of your vote, right? Because again, I can guarantee you, especially in municipal politics, it's a very small amount of people making a decision for a really big group of people, and that's unacceptable. And most of the people in that bigger group of people are voting because they are a political insiders. So in New York, it's obviously other politicians who have their own ideas of who they want to be in power so that they can continue climbing the ladder. Obviously people in the nonprofit sector, I would say they're the least dirty of it. Although I talked to someone in nonprofit a couple of days ago, and she kind of was like, there's, a lot of dirty people here too. I don't doubt it. A lot of corrupt unions, which is a shame, because the concept of unions is beautiful, and it's to protect the working person. But there is so much corruption that exists in unions. It's basically anytime people get power, and they don't already have a strong sense of power within themselves, it becomes a real messy situation. And that's something that we're just going to keep finding again and again, until people who want to be in, like I wanted to, I didn't like, I have no interest in like being in power. It just happens that you need to have power a lot of times to have a positive impact, I suppose. Like power in itself, in and of itself, I do not feel like, I do not lust for. That being said, though, I do think, especially as a woman, I've talked a lot about how I like making money for myself, because for me, money is freedom. So it's the power to have autonomy over one's future. I think that's, the kind of power that I am, lust for. But yeah, is what it is. So, I've certainly done my mourning of this privately. And again, I'm glad I did it. I'm kind of glad I didn't know how bad it was going to be beforehand, because it would have been a much harder decision to make to run for office, knowing then what I know now. Full transparency, it's been a pretty miserable 5 months. I'm like, there was a great sense of relief, in that I don't have to deal with these people anymore. I don't know that I see a future for myself in politics after experiencing it, because it just like politics would have to change so much. And so my thought now is, what do I do with this information that I have, right? I have to do something good with it. I definitely want to get the information to more people. Certainly if you're interested in running for office, I don't want this to dissuade you from doing so, but please know you have to have extremely thick skin. Like think of the thick skin that you need, or that I've talked about needing, if you're not familiar, for being in the entertainment business. and then times that by about 150, because it's even that much more. Because it's like, because you don't have the respite of being able to share your work with the world. Even in policy and stuff, there's just so many other people that you would have to be working with in government. I think that's one of the parts I didn't like about it, is like it's just something where if other people are not working in alignment with their ethics or the ethics of the campaign, and that wasn't really happening on my campaign. I liked my team for the most part. But it's just something that you really, really, really have to be dependent on a large team of people. And you have to collaborate, and you're going to end up collaborating with so many people that you don't like. And obviously, like in comedy, I have to collaborate to a certain extent with a lot of people I don't like, but not on a close level. Like I'm mostly working with, like Mike and like Christina and people that I truly love and who are, I hate when people say this, but who are basically my family, who are my chosen family. So it's a much different situation. But yeah, and that's where they are now. So I mean, I guess like the thing I was most anxious about is that I just really don't want you guys to lose hope. Like that's like the last thing I wanted to do with this campaign. So please don't let that be the takeaway. And it's funny because when I was awaiting the original decision from the Supreme Court, I was walking from the subway in the Times Square area to the Guys We Fucked studio, which is in Midtown. And I'm like walking, and I'm just like, it's been, almost a week at that point since I had been in court for the first time, and they just dragged that decision on for so long. And your whole campaign is in flux, and you're not sleeping, and you don't know what to do. You're trying to budget, you're trying to halt things without ruining your campaign, and just a lot of moving parts, and you're just trying to figure out what to do. And like, you can't announce it publicly, but I didn't want to continue calling people for fundraising. And I just was trying to figure out how to be ethical without like kind of ruining the appearance of the campaign, right? Because I mean, you still have to have an appearance that things are going as they should be until you know for sure. And all of a sudden from behind me, I hear, "Are you Corinne Fisher?" And I mean, "Are you Corinne Fisher" while you're running for office means a lot different than "Are you Corinne Fisher" used to mean 6 months ago. It's much more combative. So I was just like, I took a deep breath, and I'm like, I turned around and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna have to put up with now? And it turns out it was someone who knew me. I mean, I think through here, but also in this case was speaking to me from the perspective of politics. And her name was Haley. Is still to this day Haley. And she introduced herself, and she said, "Hey," she's like, "I'm working on your campaign as a canvasser." And because I haven't met the entire team. There's tons of people all over the city, so I hadn't met everyone yet, and hoped to be working with them, but obviously not now. And she just talked about the campaign and what a cool thing it was. And all the staff and volunteers knew what was going on, that we were fighting this fight in court. And I just said to her what was on my mind, which was, I hope this doesn't make you lose faith in trying to make a difference. Because that was my worst fear. And she said to me, she was like, "I don't feel that way." And she's like, "No matter what happens with the court case, I think," and I'm paraphrasing here, I think that what you're doing is impactful, and I think that basically everyone else who's working on this campaign, at least that I've met, would agree. And it was so funny because at that moment, I knew that we had lost the case. Because it was just like, and I don't want to get too woo-woo here because I've actually lost a lot of faith in woo-woo stuff recently, but I just knew that was the universe like throwing me a bone, because that was the only thing that was like keeping me up at night. I was just like, I just don't want everyone to feel like this was like a waste for them, not for me. It was my own, it was my own financial and time gamble, and I'm comfortable with that. And I don't regret it. But it was so funny. In that moment, I go, wow, the universe is crazy. I was like, that was the universe sending me an angel from my staff to tell me that like my fear about this was okay, don't worry about that. and then I walked, 5 minutes more to the studio, sit down on the couch that you guys all know, the maroon couch that me and Christina record on, opened my email, had an email from my attorney being like, it didn't go our way. And I was like, what the timing, that was cinematic timing. And so, and then we decided to appeal just because, I think and honestly, God bless my attorneys, because it was such an interesting experience I had with attorneys. I had meetings with 2 attorneys for this process. The attorney I didn't hire, and I don't know if I spoke about this on the air, but the attorney I didn't hire, when it became available in the public ledger that I had been knocked off the ballot, but while I was still fighting the court case, when that became public, the lawyer I didn't hire sent me an email, a passive-aggressive email. This is a 65-year-old man who's a New York City election lawyer. He sent me an email that said, quote, "So sorry you didn't make the ballot." Can you imagine being 65 years old and that's still the kind of energy you're putting it out into the world? I felt sorry for the guy. And actually, I'm gonna give his name out. Fuck this guy. Now that I'm not running for office, I can be petty again. Whew, this is great. His name is Howard. I think it's Grauber. Wait, let me look at my email, because truly, fuck this guy. I mean, don't contact him or anything, but just I just wanted to let you guys don't use him. Howard Grabard, Graubard. That's who you're dealing with if you're dealing with him. And there's no slander there because I have the email. So that's just who that was. And then the other attorney who I worked with, who I'm not going to give out the name since we lost the case, but I just want to say that his energy was immediately better in the meeting, and I went with him, and he fought the good fight, and he understood what I was doing. And yesterday, when he called me to tell me the unfortunate news, he was like, and he was like, and whatever you have left, he's like, pay all your bills for your campaign, pay your staff and everything. And he's like, and let me know what he had given me an amount of money that he would work for, and he did a flat fee, which was really nice of him, because the hourly is like 700 something an hour. I was like, we can't afford that. But he worked under a flat fee. I mean, still tens of thousands of dollars, but yeah. And he said, pay your staff, and if you have what we agreed upon left, you can pay me that. But if not, let me know what you have. And he's like, I just don't want you to go out of pocket, because he was like, I really believe in what you're doing. He's like, I love what you're doing, and thank you. I'm getting very emotional. I'm like, I'm not even sad about it anymore. I'm just like, it's just been such an emotionally crazy process. It's like I feel like I'm just completely out of whack. I have never cried more than I've cried during running for office, and I don't even know. It's just because you're never, nothing's ever okay, I guess. It's not like I certainly felt anxiety, or I wanted to make sure I was prepared for things, but I wasn't ever scared in any moment, which was so funny. I didn't love doing the mayoral forums, but what I will say, just because it's so much content that I had to get in my head and so much policy, but what I will say is the parts of this that I didn't like were just being around scumbags all the time, for lack of a better word. That's what I didn't like. And politics, there's so little, I mean, at least in the campaign part, there's really no helping people, at all, and especially and we try, and there's the part I liked best was the talking to New Yorkers and really listening to what they need, and what they're interested in and how their government has failed them and what they'd like to see in the future. That was interesting because I can work with that, right? And developing policies, I really liked that. But yeah, I mean, it's just so much, my original assessment of politicians and, whether they're intelligent or not was correct. Like this whole time I was so, not scared, but I was just like, I didn't think I was smart enough to run for office. And, then after years of doing this show, I kind of was just like, I listening to politicians speak, I was like, I really think I am. And that has certainly been reinforced throughout this process. I'm definitely smart enough to be a politician. These are not intelligent people who have our lives in their hands. And I know you're probably like, duh, Corinne, we knew that. But I know that's kind of just like a thing we like to say about politicians. And I don't know if we actually knew that. But they're really not smart. And it's also just like teams of people working together. Like this is really so much more strategy and gameplay than it is philanthropy, and that's just not who I am. I'm not actually super competitive, which is terrible when you're running for office, because in my head I'd be like, I want you to vote for whoever you want to vote for. I'm not going to sit here and be like, you got to vote for me and put do jazz hands. The most important thing is that you vote. And, in New York City, primary case, and that you fill in 5 slots and that hopefully none of them are Andrew Cuomo. And that where your money is going towards. My biggest problem, besides that I think the decisions in the hearings were unfair for ballot access for me, and that I think that the notice we never received was 100% lost on purpose, and it's shady as fuck. My biggest problem is that the substance was there. The substance, meaning the 5,800 signatures, which is what I got. You only needed 3,750. So the content, the substance, the material that is required to run for office, I submitted, and it was accurate and it was complete, and it was thousands over what was needed, and so then it really should be left to the will of the people. So my gripe with this is that, number one, the Board of Elections has now overridden the will of the people. Because the signatures, each signature is a registered Democrat in New York City saying, I think this person should run for office. So they've said that in one way that your voice doesn't matter. And then to add insult to injury, they spent tens of thousands of dollars of your taxpayer money, if you're in New York City, to fight me in court. And then if you're not in New York City, other donors' money, they spent that because I had to pay for litigation on my end. And I just don't think when there are 100,000 unhoused people in this city that that's the thing that we should be spending money on. And I think that you should know where your money is going. And I think that you should know the kind of decisions that you think you're responsible for, that you're not really responsible for, that it's all a ruse. And I also think that this experience has let everyone know that there are candidates running for mayor and other positions, probably in your municipalities every year, that you're never going to hear about because political reporters, especially if you live in a large city, are just not going to talk about them. And so you're probably not going to see them because who's actually going to the Board of Elections? Most likely you're not going to see their name until you get to the polling station and you look at the ballot. And then by that time you're going to, hopefully already know who you're voting for. And you're going to go, who is this? But there's so many steps along the way where decisions are being made for you and information is being filtered based on what other people in power think you should see. So just know that. And I think that was valuable. And I think I learned so much. And again, your money didn't go to waste. I got so much information that I will share with anyone who wants to run for office, and I'm going to find a way to compile that somehow. And I'm going to talk to other people who have been knocked off the ballot, and just give me a couple months because I need to regroup a little bit. But we're gonna do something good with this information, and your money went towards paying a lot of incredible people who do have the right idea about the government, paying them to work towards this goal. So please know that your money was spent wisely, because it has to be in a small campaign, and went to people who are doing good work all over the country. True, because my staff was not just New York. A lot of people in Portland worked on my campaign. One of my advisors lives in Texas. I think one's in Wisconsin. I think one's in Illinois. So just really all over the country, people doing great work, and it went towards their consulting businesses and stuff. And these are people who work with candidates all over the country, just like me, and maybe one day someone just like you. So that's the good news, and just truly thank you. So many people who listen to my podcasts have really showed up in a way that so many people I've known for years and years and years in real life did not show up, and it does not. And I noticed, believe me, you know me, I'm a petty bitch. I noticed everyone who showed up and everyone who didn't show up. And it was so interesting. I think we talked about this, but I saw, my friend who does this Instagram, the Beyond the Interview, she posted something that really resonated with me a couple weeks ago. That was basically like, oftentimes when you pursue something kind of crazy or big, or when you try to pursue greatness, it is people who are watching you from a distance who will want to participate in that pursuit of greatness. And the people around you who know you in real life will often not show up because, not necessarily out of jealousy, but because they will kind of think like, why not me? Or it'll be some kind of, it'll make them feel a certain way about themselves, like, why am I not doing that? Which I guess, that is kind of jealousy or comparison or competition or something like that. And that has certainly been proven to be true during this process. So again, thank you so much to everyone who participated. So many people volunteered. So many people who listened to, Guys We Fucked and Without a Country ended up being paid staff members. And it was, it was a core memory. Running for mayor of New York City, core memory. I will say that. So that's that. My back is killing me. My head's killing me. I'm dehydrated. I'm very late for a mammogram. And so all those things will be taken care of, and we'll find something good to do with this information. And I guess if there's any sorry to cough into the microphone, my allergies are still really bad. I guess if there's anyone in election law, who wants to collab on something, I don't know legally what I can do to create more transparency, specifically in the New York City Board of Elections, because it's unlike any other board of elections. Any other board of elections will answer questions. The New York City Board of Elections actually prides itself in not answering questions for you, which is crazy. But again, a couple years ago, the Campaign Finance Board, as we know it today in New York City, was created because there was so much corruption going on the financial end. So obviously, something like that needs to be created for the Board of Elections, and that's something I'm interested in doing. That being said, I would definitely need legal support to do that, and someone who wants to work on that kind of a project with me. So hit me up, withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. And maybe in the coming weeks we'll have some more people who are running for the different roles in office on Without a Country, because I still want to participate and try to make sure that Andrew Cuomo doesn't win the primary any way that I can. And obviously that make sure that we have a higher voter turnout than usual, specifically amongst millennials and Gen Z. Yes, Michael.
So I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Can people, since you're not on the ballot, it's still ranked choice. Can people rank you, or they're not allowed to?
They can write me in, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm 100% going to write myself in. I mean, just as a kind of you can't, no matter what you do, you cannot not, and especially when it's ranked choice, because it's less. I would feel like it was too ego based if you could only vote for one person to write me in, but because it's ranked choice, it's really fine to write me in, anywhere, and yeah, so it's fine. Yeah, you can write me in, and you can also contact anyone. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I've reached out to some people. We reached out to the Free Press because we thought they might be interested in a story like that. And yeah, I don't know.
Is there anyone, from, you were as in the race as it gets, right? Like you have a much more like up close, up front, real perspective on it than most, I would say. Who's still in the race do you think like most aligns with what you were trying to do? Is there anyone you would like throw your support behind?
It's so hard because when I was like, I wanted to be able to say that in my concession speech. There's no one I truly feel comfortable in being like the one candidate I support. So I think my position is going to be that I just am supporting that you rank any 5 people who aren't Andrew Cuomo. I would also suggest that you don't rank Scott Stringer. He has had a drop out of the race last time because he was accused of sexual assault, misconduct, harassment. I don't know which one, but by several women. And no, it's a whole no for me on that. Yeah, I mean, there is Zoran Mamdani, who is the person who people compare to me the most. I liked our interactions. The interactions I've had with him were pleasant, but there's just some stances he has that I think are, for lack of a better word, wacko. And we'll get to this later in the show, but he was also gallivanting around town with Hasan Piker. So that's going to be a hard no from me on that. I will probably rank him in my top 5, though. I think at least he's trying to do something new. He's also a Nepo baby, which I don't love. Grew up extremely wealthy. Both his parents are not only rich, but also famous. So that's a little hard. His mom's literally a famous Hollywood director. So again, it's like a little hard to swallow.
Well, that's why they say you don't mess with the Zoran.
Yeah, but again, I don't want to say anything against his character, and also his fan base is extremely culty.
So I was gonna add the other side of that question was: is there anyone who's still in the race who, if they reached out to you and was like, "Hey, I'd like to work, directly with you," and gave you that same kind of, deal that Trump gave to RFK, where it's like,
right,
will you endorse me? I would like to work closely with you and listen to your ideas and let you have a say in how this city is run. Is there anyone in the campaign who, like, that phone call comes through, you're like, yeah, I'll continue in politics to work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that phone call is coming through just because I don't think that they want to, like, I'm too dangerous, honestly, I think, for a politician to be working with, outside of just, like, from an influencer's perspective, which, again, I want to give Zoran Mamdani credit for that. He's playing the game extremely well. He is using social media incredibly. His content is beautiful. Obviously, his mom is Mira Nair, so that's why. Literally a famous Hollywood director. But again, it's like, it's not him so much that is the issue. It's he's created, again, like, I don't like when people create this cult. It's, which is not his fault. It's the Democratic Socialists of America that create this cult. I don't think the answer to a cult is another cult. That's just my perspective. And I've had that perspective the whole time. Again, the time I've spent with him, he's been very gracious. Who else? Jessica Ramos has followed, like, we're talking straight policy and someone who understands what's going on. I really love both the other women, Jessica Ramos and Adrienne Adams. Now, Adrienne Adams is more moderate than me. Jessica Ramos is, pretty progressive in many ways. She's, super pro immigration, and she's also, like me, was on board with decriminalizing sex work. So I want to give her a shout out for that. I've heard some things about again, I don't want to throw out accusations, but like I've heard some things about maybe being an interesting boss that I've heard behind the scenes, but from so many people. But you know, she's not polling very well. Adrienne Adams, yeah, I did a mayoral forum, I did an endorsement meeting with her last week, and she's great energy, just like a very, probably the like best energy of anyone I've been around, like kind of really has that mix between being a politician and being a person down pat. But again, she's just been in the system so long. I don't know like my thoughts on that. She's been in it too long, I think. And, you know, she did come from corporate America originally, which was her rebuttal when I kind of, you know, said, I'm not a career politician. And I think she got a little defensive and was like, you know, Corinne says she's not a career politician, but I want to remind people that I'm also not a career politician and come from the corporate world. And in my head, I'm thinking, that's not any better. I don't think saying, trust me, I'm from the corporate world is really like the rebuttal I was looking for. She's a bit moderate and, you know, again, she's really entrenched in the scene. And she said that often when city council members come in or get elected and they want to really disrupt the system, you know, her response is like, well, you can't disrupt the system, but I'll help you navigate it. And I was like, I don't think that's the response that a change maker should be saying to young people. So I don't know. And then Brad Lander is just, I want to like him so badly, but he's like a caricature of a politician. I don't fucking know. I don't know the answer here. Michael Blake, I'm never going to win. I like that guy though. And then there's this, there's like the two candidates that made the ballot, but they made it through like going this, they like the work together route with the petitioning together. Dr. Selma Bartholomew. That woman's great. I want to have her on the show. And then, of course, Paperboy Prince, who is just kind of a joke candidate here in New York City. He's a performance artist who runs every year for mayor. But yeah, so and did I forget anyone? I think that's everyone. And then there's some independents and stuff, but they wouldn't be in the primary. So, and then, sorry, Zelnor Myrie is the one I forgot. Zelnor Myrie. Again, he's a little more moderate than me. He's the one candidate that I haven't met, which is none of the mayoral forums. Like he's the one that I haven't met so far. So he's the only one I haven't candidate that I haven't met, which is crazy. That, you know, to go through 5 months of campaigning and done so many events and have never met him, but you know, he has his own strategy. Again, I'll probably rank him in my top 5. You have 5 people to do. But that's that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why, you know, when people say, you know, oh, you should support another candidate, I just don't know that there's another candidate I feel honestly comfortable supporting in this process. But so what I'm going to support is ranking 5 candidates who aren't Andrew Cuomo and supporting getting out there and voting in general. I think that's the only things that I can do. But that's that. All right. So we did Patreon. My enemy of the state is the appellate court of New York City. Took 5 judges to send me back a decision that said we agree with the initial judge. And again, it's so hard because the thing about law is like they're not really making their decision. They're not making their decision based on how they actually feel. Like, you know, if you said like they're making it based on past rulings, which I think is so weird. Like I know that's how law works, that you have to look for other court cases that how they ruled and then kind of follow suit, but I think that is strange. I think that's enemy of the state. I think that's like a bit of a strange thing. Again, whatever. We move on. Let's see. Okay, so let's go to the Whacko Mailbag because Margarita Cranova, who has been such a large supporter of this show, for many things that I do, she sent me an email like a month ago that I hadn't had time to get to yet. And it said the New York State Senate begins their sessions with prayer. And we had been talking a lot about how there was a lot of bleeding of religion into politics and how it made me feel really uneasy. She says, "Hi, Corinne. Hi, Mike. As always, thank you for all that you both do. Corinne, I really resonate with your unease with the lack of separation of church and state, especially of late in this country. I acknowledge that religion plays a big part in people's lives, but I disagree with the practice of incorporating it in secular activities such as politics and education. It's not that I think all religion should be banned or anything. It's just that people are so touchy when it comes to their particular belief that it is hard to talk about it without feeling like the other person is trying to indoctrinate you, which oftentimes they are trying to. Moreover, this country is very Christian heavy, so it's not even like there's an equal balance of religious fanatics, just Jesus BFFs. I am finishing my first year of law school, and I was reading up on New York statutes when I came across the New York State Senate's YouTube page. It has their session recorded and available to the public, which I thought was pretty cool. What I didn't think was cool was that they had a reverend address the Senate and lead the chambers in prayer on April 3rd. I thought it was extremely inappropriate and would have expected this of Texas, Florida, or another super conservative state. But New York, I started looking at other recorded sessions and found that religious leaders regularly address the New York State Senate in a segment they call invocation. Invocation is an interesting word choice considering fortune telling is a criminal statute in New York State, which results in 90 days imprisonment and up to 1 year probation. And yes, tarot reading, palmistry, and astrology all fall under fortune telling, which is something I learned from this episode. And she provides a link, as any good law student would, to the New York State Senate legislation, section 165.35, fortune telling. A person is guilty of fortune telling when, for a fee or compensation, which he directly or indirectly solicits or receives, he claims or pretends to tell fortunes or holds himself out as being able, by claimed or pretended use of occult powers, to answer questions or give advice on personal matters, or to exercise influence or affect evil spirits or curses, except that this section does not apply to a person who engages in the aforedescribed conduct as part of a show or exhibition solely for the purpose of entertainment or amusement. And this really explains why I have noticed this on, everything woo-woo related, that there will always be a note on the website or whatever that said this is intended for entertainment purposes only. And I hate that because it makes it feel like it's not like a real thing. So kind of psychs you out of it. But this explains why, because they are legally forbidden to do it. It then goes on to say that fortune telling is a Class B misdemeanor. And here, let me go a step further and look, what are some Class B misdemeanors? New York. So, okay. So that's so crazy. So these are A, Class B. What is it telling me? Class A.
I have a list here if you want to bring it up.
Yeah, because I'm looking up some, and some are like they're A, like drug possession. I can't tell. So wait, what are other Class B misdemeanors in New York?
All right, so conspiracy in the 6th degree.
Okay.
Menacing in the 3rd degree.
Oh my God.
Stalking in the 4th degree.
What's stalking in the 4th degree?
we're gonna have to look into this. Self-abortion in the 2nd degree, sexual abuse in the 3rd degree, criminal trespassing in the 3rd degree, unlawful possession of radio devices, criminal tampering in the 3rd degree, reckless endangerment of property, possession of graffiti instruments.
Oh, God.
Unlawful duplication of computer-related material in the 2nd degree.
So wait, did you hear me when you walked out to the other room? Did you hear what I was talking about with Class B misdemeanors?
No.
So we got into this conversation because fortune telling, which includes astrology, palmistry, all this kind of stuff, and tarot cards. If you do it for money and you don't explicitly say it's for entertainment purposes, which all the ones say that on the website, that's a Class B misdemeanor. fortune telling is technically illegal. So any of this like woo woo stuff, like so every white woman in New York is a criminal.
It's akin to stalking in the fourth degree, where
Yeah.
a person is guilty when he or she intentionally and for no legitimate purposes engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific person and knows or reasonably should know that such conduct is, one, likely to cause reasonable fear of material harm to the physical health, safety, or property of such person, member of such person's immediate family, or third party. Causes material harm to the mental or emotional health of such person, or is likely to cause person unreasonable fear that his employment, business, or career is threatened. So trying to cancel someone online could be stalking in the fourth degree.
Yeah, I'll say. Also, I want to correct myself because I just said, I made a cheap joke about white women. That being said, I do feel like it's, the woo-woo space is often not super inclusive, which is crazy because 2 out of my 4 go-to tarot, spiritual advisor people are women of color. So I just want to note that, that it's a space that, of course, has been overtaken by the whites.
Is Miss Cleo the original?
No.
Is Miss Cleo
She's a scam artist.
Yeah.
Don't include her.
Like anyone who's not putting that it's quote unquote for entertainment purposes, wouldn't they be considered a scam artist if it's illegal to not do that?
Yeah, but everyone I know, I think has it on their website, at least the New York people. Let's see. She goes on to, so she includes some videos, and then
Which is crazy, by the way, after
Yeah.
the CIA just came out and said that projection is real. You know what I mean? That we can access a higher conscious space. It's
the CIA said that.
yeah.
Where is there an article to back?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm going to finish this email. On March 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 18th, 20th, 25th, 26th, 27th, and April 1st, the Senate stated, in the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. I also looked into the United States chaplain that came up in last week's, this is the April 7th, Without a Country, and found that U.S. Senate has essentially always had an elected chaplain since 1789 and still have at least one to this day, yet all of them have been of Christian denominations. All of this is painting a clearer picture of how this country has always prioritized Christianity over all other faiths. She says, thanks for all you do. I hope this was informative. It was super informative. Thank you. I love this fortune telling fact. I love that. That's a Corinne Fisher party fact of the week if I ever heard one. I know it's party story of the week, but that's more of a party fact of the week. Party topic of the week. Sorry. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, so it's the thing I was talking about is recently declassified CIA documents. They talked about digital perception of remote geographical locations, often called remote viewing.
Yeah,
and they put out a whole thing on remote viewing and said, I'll show you the CIA document on it.
Yeah, I was I'm familiar with remote viewing.
But they said, they put on experiments, and it was this is a thing. The CIA thinks this is a thing.
Interesting. Yeah, because I gotta be I'm just very down on woo woo lately, but okay. All right, so let's get into all the stories that we have to go through this week. I'm having such problems with some of these websites, but I don't know. Let's see. Why am I not getting this? I like how I pay for the free press, but I still cannot fully get into it. That's my favorite thing. Because I wanted to first talk about this lady who called a child the N-word and then got a bunch of money. Because that was, what a great thing to happen. Not. Wait. All right. Sorry, I'm going to sign in on a different browser and see if I can get into this. Check your email.
I have it here if I want to bring it up on the screen.
You can. Sorry, I should have signed in. This is my fault. Ugh, my back is really not doing well. Okay, here I'm signed in. So this is from the Free Press. This is from the Substack. Again, this is like a part that you have to pay to get into, but I subscribe to the Free Press, so it's free for you. She called a kid the N-word. The far right is making her rich. This is from their Substack by River Page. The excesses of the woke era created a backlash so intense that the right now celebrates racism. Last Wednesday, a video went viral of a white woman defending her actions after calling a 5-year-old black boy the N-word because allegedly the kid had tried to steal from her son's diaper bag. You know, story ends for me there because he's fucking 5. He doesn't even know what stealing is. The guy filming the video confronts her, asking if she'd used the racial slur. She responds, "It's none of your fucking business." "It is my business," the man replies. The woman then makes an I know what this means, but how do you say this? Ululation sound, apparently to mock what she perceives to be the cameraman's Muslim heritage. He says, "Why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?" "Fuck you," she replies, before chanting the N-word multiple times. The video spread lightning fast from TikTok to Instagram to X. Your mic is on, Mike. Almost immediately, the woman in question was identified by online sleuths as Shiloh Hendricks of Rochester, Minnesota. Commenters, disgusted by her racism, called on the internet to make her famous, quote. And like, well, I don't, love internet justice. I mean, in this case, it's like, I hate to use this phrase, but she was asking for it. Also, I've never been to. Oh wait, no, I have been. I was thinking. I was mixing up Montana and Minnesota because I was about to say I've heard Minnesota is the most racist state, but that's not true. I've heard Montana is the most racist state, but I've never been to Montana. I have been to Minnesota. And Minnesota was lovely when I was there, but, I was only to Minneapolis. The internet obliged, and it might just be the best thing that's ever happened to Hendricks, because even as she became a target of the left's outrage, the far right turned her into a folk hero, and by the end of the week, they might even make her a millionaire. Online, the far right's reaction started with posts like this. "She's fresh out of fucks to give, like the rest of us. This is the new normal." One user made a giant infographic that's just the N-word under the message, "I stand with Shiloh Hendricks." Others were even more creative, using AI to create an image of Hendricks as an armor-wearing medieval knight, flipping off the viewer as a black child weeps behind her. There's even a Shiloh meme coin, presumably for crypto heads who also love racially charged public outbursts. Hendricks, surely sensing an opportunity, started a fundraising campaign on Give, Send, Go, a GoFundMe-like platform that self-identifies as the #1 free Christian crowdfunding site. It even allows users to click a button marked Pray to indicate their support for a campaign. There's a lot of funny stuff you could go do on that website. "My name is Shiloh, and I have been put into a very dire situation," wrote Hendricks on her donation page. "I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at a park. I called the kid out for what he was." I don't think that's true. I mean, if anything, you would be saying thief. You just used a racial slur. She then adds, and again, he's 5. She then adds that she's been doxxed. Her address, phone number, and social security card have all been released, and she needs money to relocate. Initially, Hendricks sought to raise $20,000. And so even though everything that she did was wrong, the doxing and if someone's going to go up, to her house and kill her, yes, that is not the proper response, even though it seems, the assessment obviously is that she's an abhorrent human being, and I would not disagree with that. That being said, I do not think the answer is going to her house and killing her, which is, what the doxing kind of implies. The doxing has got to stop for everyone. I mean, at least private people. This is an obvious grift, but the online far right, I mean, is it a grift? People do show up at people's houses, This is an obvious grift, but the online far right doesn't seem to mind. Donations poured in with comments like grift is also the word of the week. Just use it there has to be a word that's overused. Grift and narcissist. Donations poured in with comments like, here's $10 for your courage and $10 for each of your white kids. Oh, God. And thanks for standing up to these violent criminals who are babied by our government and our brain dead society. Yes, all those violent 5-year-olds. What? Hendricks met the $20,000 goal almost immediately. In the small hours of Friday night, one ex-user, Anglo-Saxon Girl, expressed concern that Hendricks might be a scammer, so she asked Hendricks to send her a picture of herself holding up a piece of paper with Anglo-Saxon Girl written on one side and the N-word on the other. Hendricks promptly did so, and Anglo-Saxon Girl posted the picture to reassure anyone who was thinking of donating that this white woman is definitely legit, adding the comment, white fucking power, white heart emoji, hearts around the smiley face emoji. I mean, how do we, I don't want to share a planet with these people. Like with people who act like this is like, where does this come from? Like, how do you get to be like this? Email me if you know. Call in. Meanwhile, Shiloh raised her fundraising goal to $100,000, then to $150,000, then to $250,000. Then she surpassed that goal. Now Hendricks is seeking $1 million, for moving expenses. Currently, she's raised over $670,000. Like, obviously now she's grifting, but like the initial like doxing, I was like, okay, like I can believe a little bit. All the while, her fundraiser went viral on X. One post promoting a link to the page received over 24 million views, more than the entire population of Florida. To further glorify Hendricks, her supporters have fired racist abuse at the child she insulted. Oh, my God. And claimed the man who says he filmed the video, Sharmak Bail Omar, is a sex offender. Under 24 hours after standing her ground. Okay, wait, there's a link to the sex offender thing. Okay, wait. So then she links to this news article with one of the guys, and it says 2 Rochester men, and again, this is Rochester, Minnesota, not Rochester, New York. 2 Rochester men will appear this is from ABC News. 2 Rochester men will appear in court May 5th on joint charges of 3rd and 5th degree criminal sexual conduct after being accused of raping a 16-year-old after offering her a place to stay. So I mean, like, I think she is right about that. So I guess if you're going to film someone and dox someone online, you should make sure that you haven't raped a 16-year-old girl. Like, I can't, like, can you believe like this is a real story that I'm sharing, that this is news right now? We're discussing an adult woman who called a 5-year-old the N-word for stealing, in quotes, from a diaper bag, which, again, I don't believe that a 5-year-old can steal, because in order to steal, you would have to understand the concept of stealing, which I do not think a 5-year-old understands. And then the person who filmed her and told her to use the N-word more on camera raped a 16-year-old. That's America. Hi. And again, I don't think this is even America specific. I think there's plenty of bad people all over the world, but just this is, oh my God, what is going on here? Wow. Okay. Under 24 hours after standing her ground against, this what? In quotes, it says, under 24 hours after standing her ground against, this is a quote, retarded Somali children and pedophiles, Shiloh Hendricks has raised over $300,000 on Give, Send, Go, wrote one ex-user. In truth, Bail Omar and another man were arrested and charged with raping and sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl in January 2022, but both pleaded not guilty, and the case against them was dismissed by the Olmsted, Minnesota County Attorney's Office in March of this year in the interest of justice. So Bail Omar isn't a sex offender. Of course, that hasn't stopped Hendricks's backers from calling for his deportation. Okay, so like he isn't a convicted sex offender, but he is an accused or alleged sex offender. So that one's we're on the fence about that one. How did America become a place where someone who screams racial slurs at a child in a public park is valorized and financially rewarded for it. And let me just go back to that sentence. Like the fact that this article went in and was like, okay, well, he wasn't convicted. This is another instance for me where, in this case, I'm going to go with the Free Press is on the left. You know, the Free Press is rogue, so you can never really tell where they are. But this is a rather left-leaning article. So this is another instance where the left gets damning information that kind of hurts the story that they want to tell, and they try to negotiate their way out of it. And I think that weakens their argument. But I do commend them for including that in the article at all, because I think most other sources aren't even including that, because again, it ruins the story, you know?
But on the flip side, the Free Press works because for someone like me,
right,
who the only side of this story I've seen is that this man is a sex offender. Like, I saw that exact tweet with that exact article, and I made up in my mind, yeah, this dude, you know, definitely raped this girl, and this is the first I'm hearing that case was thrown out. Doesn't mean he's not guilty,
right.
But he's not actually a sex offender,
for sure. And my bias is, you know, just because of the level, you know, the amount of information I have about sex offenders and how often they are victims of sex crimes don't find justice in the court system. So that's my bias, to be transparent, of course. But yes, you're right, and I do like it because, you know, sometimes the Free Press can also be overly snarky. But yeah, I like give me the information, give me all the information, and then let me make the decision. I just think so often in political and social reporting now, these journalists are making the decision for us, and that's what I really want to stay away from. So I do like the Free Press for that. How did America become a place, yes, where someone who screams racial slurs at a child in a public park is valorized and financially rewarded for it? In some sense, this story is a decade in the making, and it starts with the zealotry of the left, not the right. The past decade is filled with tales of people who were wrongfully canceled in the fervor of what people like to call the woke era. I'm part of that, the canceling, not the canceler. The Free Press has told a lot of these stories. We ran a piece about a child in Evanston, Illinois, who tied 3 nooses and was accused of being a racist when he was actually just mentally ill. We ran an investigation into the Central Park Karen, a white woman who was viciously canceled for calling the police on a blackbird watcher who was yelling at her in New York's Central Park. Most Americans, upon hearing the details of these cases, would agree that these are stories about ordinary people wrongly labeled as racist by an overzealous progressive mob. Shiloh Hendricks' story is not in this category. She did exactly what she's accused of, and it's all on camera. And unlike many of the people wrongly accused of racism, transphobia, or other bigotries in the last several years, who still don't feel safe in their own hometowns and can't get their jobs back, Shiloh seems to have paid no price for something she very proudly did. I'm not saying a person's worst moment should destroy their life, but they shouldn't get rich from it either. Also, while I agree with the sentiment that a person's worst moment shouldn't destroy their life, there's really I don't really know how we can get to not only calling a child the N-word once, but then repeating it on camera multiple times. Like that's quite a journey, you know? But as I wrote earlier this year, the excesses of the left canceling all those innocent Americans has triggered an equal and opposite reaction on the right, which has become more and more extreme in railing against cancel culture. The pendulum has swung so far in the other direction that Hendricks' unabashed, unambiguous racist behavior qualifies her as a hero. Basically, the left cried wolf, and now the wolf is here on your phone, calling a little boy in Minnesota the N-word on camera. And there is a new identity politics, obsessed far right waiting in the wings to reward her for it. Shiloh's supporters belong to what some have called the woke right, a version of the far right that has embraced identity politics in the same way the woke left has done in the last decade or so. In this case, the woke right is adopting the playbook of Black Lives Matter, except they're using it to defend white people. This is clear in the comments from donors on Shiloh's donation page, comments that appear to have now been disabled. Black fatigue is real, reads one. White guilt is dead, reads another. Another states white lives matter. A top donor on the page, it should be noted, is someone who goes by Germer Rudolf Respecter, which is the name of a German chemist and notorious Holocaust denier. The woke right feels victimized not only by Black people, but also by Jews, which is true, which is so funny that the right has now become so far, so pro-Israel, because they also fucking hate Jews. Everyone hates Jews, which I've been telling you guys for years. But
No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the woke right, which is staunchly anti the Israel side in the Palestinian conflict.
I'm sorry, repeat that? The woke right is
the people that
Right.
the people the right considers woke now are the people who say they shouldn't be killing babies in Gaza.
I thought the woke right, they're explaining here in this article, the woke right is the really far right people. It's the right's answer to Black Lives Matter. That's how I interpreted what they just said. Everyone on the right is pro-Israel, are they not?
No.
Who's not?
I mean, go down the list. There's so many.
Like libertarians aren't, but like I don't consider them right. I consider them their own thing.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm guessing you're assuming. Like I don't like libertarians to me are not conservatives. They're like they're like a right-leaning rogue.
I mean, Thomas Massey is not a libertarian. He's a Republican in Congress who's, like there is what the right is calling the quote unquote woke right, and it's people who are they say that they get too emotional about the Palestinian conflict.
Okay.
But there is also the very vocal group on Twitter who's like, the exactly what they're describing as the anti-BLM movement.
Right. Okay. The silence of the more mainstream conservative media sphere, which is chronically online and absolutely aware of the Shiloh Hendricks saga, is striking. At risk of repeating myself, my message to that crowd and my friends among them is this. Enriching a woman who called a child the N-word in public is bad for America. And if you're afraid to say that for fear of being called a libtard, the people who will destroy your movement have already won. The public didn't like the Black nationalism of BLM, but they won't like the white nationalism of the woke right either. And as someone who came up on the left, I can promise you this. If your movement can't be bothered to wash its hands of the freaks within its ranks, the public will wash its hands of you, and they will do so sooner than you think. I like this piece. This was a good one. I think this was a good piece. Because I mean, that was just so abhorrent, and you're like, what the fuck is going on in this country? Well, let's see. I'm gonna move forward from this one. All
right?
Yes.
I have been seeing maybe this is my stream of feeds that I get, but people were pointing out the similarities between the GoFundMe's just exploding between Carmelo Anthony and Shiloh Hendricks, and it's like. Someone.
Wait, what happened with Carmelo Anthony?
Not that Carmelo Anthony.
I'm like Wait, what Carmelo?
Not the former Denver Nugget and New York
that's
Knicks.
I was like, what's going on with Carmelo Anthony?
No, the young black kid who's accused of stabbing and killing another classmate.
Oh, it's Carmelo Anthony with a K.
With a K, yes.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, like, somebody made the point on Twitter. They were like, hey, if I was the CIA and I was trying to start a race war,
right,
I would pretty quickly give, $500,000 to a black teen who murdered a white teen, and then give $500,000 to a white lady calling a black kid the N-word in the park. And it's like, you want to make this place seem divided,
So who, like the government is doing this, you're saying?
Yeah, the CIA, using the same tactics they use in other countries, just,
Interesting. So the New York Post, just to support what Mike is saying, it says, this is from April 30th, Give, Send, Go co-founder, quote, not proud to host fundraiser for alleged track meet murder suspect, says some donors are wrong. And as of that date, more than $514,000 has been donated to help Carmelo Anthony official fund on the same Give, Send, Go. This $500,000 sum is the result of an alleged murder that occurred at a track meet in Frisco, Texas on April 2nd. The victim was 17-year-old Austin Metcalf of Memorial High School, who died in a deadly stabbing. The suspect, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony of Centennial High School, was just released from jail on bond after lawyers reduced his bail from $1 million. Anthony has told police that he did it, meaning the fatal stabbing, but has claimed it was in self-defense. He has been charged with first-degree murder. Interesting. So, but what was he saying that the guy was doing to him that he needed to stab him to death? I just want to hear the story.
So I figured, I thought you guys would have talked about this the week that I was out.
Oh no, I didn't.
And I get most of my news from this show. So I was
Good to know, Mike. Really following my two source rule. Well, this is multiple sources at least.
So as far as I understand, like there was arguments about whether or not the kid was being like, harassing or
yeah, because it's like in Texas, so I'm like, I don't necessarily like maybe this guy was like attacking Carmelo.
Maybe. I'm being called dumb in the chat right now, so that's fun.
Why?
I don't know. Oh, and somebody did ask earlier, by the way, if they can still donate to your campaign fund if it means getting more money to that lawyer who was very kind to work with you.
You can, but in all honesty, I think now because of the last week of donations, I think we're good. So I don't think we need any more money to cover the costs. But like, if you wanted to, like, let me, like, you can tell me who you are and I could reach out. But that's super generous of you. But I do think we're okay now because I pretty much know what we owe and I think we're okay. So I actually went in to contribute last night once we lost the appeal, and I made all the I can't close down contribute yet because I still have work that I need to do with the treasurer before I can shut down the site. So I actually can't shut it down yet because my paperwork is not done, and that's going to take a little bit. But I did change all the donation amounts to zero to try and dissuade people, and then obviously talking about it here, announcing my concession tomorrow, and I'm going to email all the donors as well to just be like, thank you, but I don't need any more. So I thank you so much, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to be good to pay him what we agreed upon. He was so nice, but also they did make a paperwork mistake in the initial litigation. So let's not go too far. They're making plenty of money.
Oh, we got 2 super chats.
Awesome. For you?
No. Lola made it very clear, $0 just to go to me. She said, amen, sister. Not sure what that was in reply to, but it was definitely backing you up. DigiSo says, we never, quote unquote, became this way. We were always this country. We're not nearly as bad as we used to be.
And that's interesting because that's a lot, I talk about that a lot with feminism where it feels like we're so bad and it's not. I think there are always steps though. I think right now, while yes, I would agree that we used to be much worse. I think we are in a bit of a regressive moment right now because of the Trump administration where people feel a lot more comfortable being racist in public. And I think they probably always felt that way, but now they just have like I don't want to say balls because I don't think it's ballsy to be racist, but they just feel more comfortable being the racists that they are in public. And I don't think that's a great place to be. So what the living with family, I'm just trying to figure out what the hell happened in this Carmelo Anthony, what happened thing. Self-defense. I'm just curious now what went down. News Nation. Is this good? Carmelo Anthony case, self-defense explained by a criminal defense attorney. I don't even know if this is like reputable. Let's see. Okay, it just doesn't really say. It just says during an argument between the two teens, Anthony allegedly pulled out a knife and stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf died in the arms of his twin brother. Okay, so I feel like if the other person didn't have a weapon and it was just a verbal argument and you pulled out a knife and stabbed him, that's going to be a hard self-defense to argue. Because I would think that self-defense, like they have to have gotten physical with you. Again, I don't know the whole story. I wasn't there. So let's see though. And that's not good that the twin brother was the witness. I feel like that's not going to go well for the other Carmelo Anthony, as I'm going to refer to him in court. All right. So this next fact is kind of something that Mike sent me earlier today about Trump's birthday celebration. You sent me like a kind of just like a meme thing from Instagram that said we pay $2 to $3 million a year from taxpayer money to NPR, $80 to $85 million a year to PBS, and Trump's planned birthday party for June is set to be a $92 million celebration. This is from the New Republic. Trump's birthday parade now includes thousands of soldiers and tanks. Trump is dead set on throwing a gigantic military parade to celebrate the Army's 250th anniversary, which just happens to be on the same day as his birthday, which that's where you see that he's a businessman. That's where you see that he's a businessman, because you go, I'm going to be able to kind of write this off by saying it's the 250th anniversary of the military, but it's also my birthday. And it's not even like a special birthday. It's not his 80th. It's his 79th birthday. So it's not like if it was his 80th, I'd be like, all right, we really got something. We really got something here. But I mean, this is like the kind of shit you hear in like folklore about like kings, you know, where they're just like, he made himself a grand celebration to celebrate his own birthday.
Kings? This is what you hear about with like Kim Jong-un.
Okay. Also that. He's a Gemini, right? June 14th, Zodiac. I'm going to look it up. I'm like, I think he's a Gemini. Yeah, of course. He's fucking nuts. Sorry to all my Geminis watching. One of my favorite people in the world is a Gemini. All right. So what? The Army, okay, so the Army's blueprints call for a whopping 6,600 soldiers, several Army bands, 50 helicopters, at least 150 vehicles, which could include historic Army vehicles and even tanks that could significantly damage the streets of Washington, D.C. When Trump first pitched having a military parade in the nation's capital in 2018, plans were abandoned due to the exorbitant cost, roughly $92 million. Imagining that these plans include many of the same features as the ones from 7 years ago, inflation would put the price tag closer to, actually, it's worse than we originally assessed, Michael. It's now $117 million, not to mention the cost of the Army Festival already planned for the National Mall. Plans for an expensive and frivolous military parade obviously fly in the face of the Trump administration's supposedly necessary cost-cutting measures. In reality, the cuts are more punitive than actually thrifty. Trump signed an executive order Friday directing the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to stop allocating funds to PBS and NPR. The CBP disperses $535 million in taxpayer funds to public stations for educational and cultural programming. That amount is apportioned by Congress, placing the funding outside of Trump's realm of control. With the massive cuts to educational public programming, the president can almost afford to throw his lavish birthday party, but he'd still need to scrape together several additional millions. And again, you know, whether or not you're a fan of those channels, just keep an eye on when we're cutting funding that specifically is our access to information. I think that's one of the telltale signs of authoritarianism. It's extremely dangerous to be cutting off our access to information. And that includes a lot of things. That includes internet access to low-income people. Again, like there's like many ways that we can cut off people's book banning. Censorship in, you know, like we talked about with the Washington Post. There's a lot of ways we can cut off someone's access to education, to information, to transparency. And that's, I think, very, very specifically dangerous thing to be involved in. You might have heard about this Trump abortion pill case. This is from The Cut. Life After Roe by Andrea Gonzalez Ramirez. Sometimes I never know how to say it because it could be Andrea, it could be Andrea. You know, we don't know. Why is Trump asking a judge to toss an abortion pill case? The Trump administration asked a Texas judge on Monday to dismiss an ongoing federal lawsuit that seeks to restrict access to mifepristone, the first pill used in the medication abortion regimen. While on its face, the explicitly anti-abortion administration's move against the 3 Republican-led states that brought the suit may come as a surprise, experts warn that the legal battle over abortion pills is far from over, and Donald Trump may still restrict access to mifepristone through other actions. The best way to read it is that they're just buying time to figure out what to do about mifepristone, abortion law expert and University of California Davis professor Mary Ziegler told the New York Times. Post-Dobbs, terminating a pregnancy with pills has become the most common abortion method in the U.S., even in states that ban the procedure, thanks to the proliferation of telehealth services and online providers. This has made abortion opponents deeply committed to ending abortion pill access through legislation and the courts. The case that the Trump administration is seeking to dismiss, State of Missouri versus U.S. Food and Drug Administration, was brought by Republican attorney generals in Missouri, Kansas, and Idaho in October. It is an amended complaint to FDA versus Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine, which challenged the FDA's 2 decades-old approval of mifepristone. As you may remember, the Supreme Court rejected that lawsuit last summer, ruling that the anti-abortion plaintiffs in Alliance did not have standing to sue. However, U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk, a controversial anti-abortion judge whom Trump appointed in his first term and who oversaw Alliance, allowed State of Missouri to proceed in January. The Biden administration filed a motion to dismiss the case before Trump took office. Monday was the deadline for the Trump administration to file a brief in support of the motion. In its filing, the Department of Justice didn't defend the case on its merits. Instead, it argued that Missouri, Idaho, and Kansas have no standing to sue in Texas and can't simply piggyback off the previous suit to keep the case before Kacsmaryk. The Trump administration said that the states are free to pursue their claims in a district where venue is proper. However, the Justice Department also argued that some of the FDA regulations that the attorney generals are targeting were implemented in 2016, well past the 6-year time limit to sue, though its lawyers did not address the lawsuit's request to roll back more recent regulations from 2021 and 2023. Abortion law experts were generally skeptical about the DOJ's actions. After all, the administration has already made a slew of moves to advance its agenda, including asking a court to dismiss another abortion-related case that it inherited from the Biden administration, signaling that the Trump White House would rather let women die than allow them to have emergency abortions. The Trump administration should not get a gold star for continuing to highlight the glaring legal flaws in Missouri's case. They could not do otherwise with a straight face, Julia Kaye, senior staff attorney at the ACLU's Reproductive Freedom Project, said in a statement. If, moving forward, the Trump administration stops defending the FDA's evidence-based decisions on mifepristone or orders the FDA to reconsider its regulations, that would tank the FDA's credibility and betray President Trump's campaign promise not to further interfere with abortion access. The filing also speaks to the administration's efforts to preserve executive power, Kaye told HuffPost. Since Trump's return to the White House, Democratic-led states have sued his administration on a myriad of issues, including his attempts to end birthright citizenship, tariffs, and the dismantling of federal agencies. By saying that Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri lack standing in the mifepristone case, Trump's DOJ could set a similar precedent for the rest of these legal challenges. And if Trump does direct the FDA to restrict access to mifepristone, his administration could then argue that Democratic-led states have no standing to challenge those regulations. After taking credit for overturning Roe v. Wade, Trump has generally characterized his position on abortion as wanting to leave the issue to the states, using a neat rhetorical trick to replace the term abortion ban with national minimum standard or national consensus. However, the future of abortion, including medication abortion, is at risk, considering how he has filled his administration with abortion opponents at the highest levels of government, including Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr., FDA Commissioner Marty Makary, and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Oz. It's worth noting that Makary, in particular, said at a conference last month that he has no plans to take action on reinstating restrictions on mifepristone for now, though he left the door open for future actions depending on what new data surfaces about the drug. But since it was approved 25 years ago, study after study has found that the pill is safe, more so than penicillin, Tylenol, or Viagra, and effective. Still, days after Makary made those comments, a conservative think tank released a study purporting to have found that mifepristone is dangerous. That study's conclusions rely on questionable and unscientific definitions of medical complications, but that didn't stop Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri from contacting Makary and demanding he restore critical safeguards on the use of mifepristone. Coincidentally, the senator is married to attorney Erin Hawley, who last year argued against the FDA's approval of mifepristone at the Supreme Court. Don't be fooled by the Trump administration's request to dismiss state of Missouri. The filing is neither a real defense of abortion pills, nor does it show that Trump has suddenly a vested interest in expanding abortion rights. Members of his administration and their allies have clearly outlined the many ways in which Trump can end or curb access to medication abortion without going through Congress, including reversing the FDA's approval of mifepristone, reinstating medically unnecessary restrictions, and directing federal agencies to enforce the Comstock Act, a 19th century anti-obscenity law that they argue can be used to prosecute people who mail abortion pills. It's not a matter of whether these attacks will take place. It is a matter of when. You tell them, the cut. Even though a lot of your content is nonsensical. That was a good one. All right, let's move on to, what time is it? Okay, let's move on to, what do I want to see? Okay, well, I thought this was interesting, and this is from Fox, so it won't be long or use big words. This says legal experts say Trump can definitely reopen Alcatraz, but could face avalanche of lawsuits. You probably heard another top story of the week was that Trump saying that he's going to reopen Alcatraz. I guess he was just bored and wanted to say some things. Donald Trump is like a friend who just claim like he's on cocaine and wants to start a bunch of small businesses. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett and former general counsel of the Navy Van Hipp joined. What a terrible name. What? Joined Fox and Friends on Monday to discuss President Donald Trump's call to reopen the Alcatraz prison in San Francisco. It's a provocative idea, which may be why Trump is proposing it. So the sound you hear are all the liberal heads exploding at the same time. Progressives frown on prisons. They tend to favor nanny daycare for hardened criminals, Jarrett told host Brian Kilmeade. Trump called for the reopening of the notorious prison in a Truth Social post. Of course he did. It is, however, federal property, so this can be done, but it have to be rebuilt almost entirely. It's so outdated and crumbling. I feel like this is like his national version of like Rikers. Like obviously like closing down Rikers is a big thing. It was a big part of the mayoral race. I was on board with closing Rikers, but you can also hand it over from the city to the national government, and that can expedite the process, which was part of my platform for that, but it doesn't really matter anymore. It is, however, federal property, so this can be done, but it'd have to be rebuilt almost entirely. It's so outdated and crumbling, and here's the important part. It has landmark status, so there would be an avalanche of lawsuits that would probably tie it up for years, which is true. Don't forget, this is California. I mean, it's any liberal city, but they are right about the landmarking would really keep it going for a long time. Hipp, a former U.S. Army Deputy Assistant Secretary, said Trump could absolutely reopen Alcatraz. For those folks who are complaining it's going to cost too much, it's going to be too difficult to do from a construction standpoint. We've had a builder in this country, the best builder in America for years and years in the commercial sector is a guy by the name of Donald Trump. I think he can give, if they try to slow roll with this, and bureaucrats try to do what they like to do, I think the president can give them all the advice they need on how to reopen Alcatraz the right way, he told Fox and Friends on Monday. Alcatraz opened in 1934, but the prison, located on a 22-acre spit of rock, was shuttered after 29 years. Rebuild and open Alcatraz, the president said on social media, for too long. America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. Trump said he is directing the Bureau of Prisons, Department of Justice, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. Hipp told Fox and Friends the move was what Americans voted for. This was what the American people voted for at large. They're tired of thugs and gangs roaming rampant on our city streets. They're tired of murderers and But I thought you were deporting all these people. Now you're putting them in Alcatraz? Make up your mind. These alleged people. I thought these were all the immigrants that you're deporting. They're tired of murderers and terrorists coming across our border, and sometimes we forget why we have a federal government. The states came together to provide for the common defense of the American people. That's why we had the federal government, and I think President Trump realizes that it's his most important responsibility, Hip said. Okay. Wow. First comment, interesting proposal, but the real benefit of Alcatraz was that it was surrounded by water. I think today's technology of drones and mini subs defeat that safety net. Also, way too expensive to rebuild from scratch. Plenty of desert out there for a... Okay, I don't know what this means, so I want to, before I say it, because it's like a abbreviation for something, make sure it's not anything offensive, because this is comments on Fox. Oh, CCOT. It's just like it's like they're a reference to the prison in El Salvador. Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay. Got it. Jerry says it does have landmark status, but the idea is great. However, there are other similar islands along our coastlines that would work just as easy. The Farallon Islands just out of the San Francisco Bay Area and off the coast, or maybe others can suggest someplace similar. Okay. Great. Let's see. There's a bunch of deportation stuff is happening. Fun times. Loving it. This is pretty long, so we'll move on to this. All right, let's skip ahead to could be worse, and then I want to get into our main story because I have a lot of stuff about Hasan Piker that I want to go over. So the could be worse is India and Pakistan. India and Pakistan are on the brink of wider conflict. Here's what we know. This is from CNN World. India launched military strikes on Pakistan on Wednesday, today, and Pakistan claimed it shot down 5 Indian force jets in an escalation that has pushed the two nations to the brink of a wider conflict. The escalation puts India and Pakistan in dangerous territory, with Islamabad vowing to retaliate against India's strikes and the international community calling for restraint. New Delhi said the strikes are in response to the massacre of 26 people, mostly Indian tourists, who died in April when gunmen stormed a scenic mountain spot in the India-administered part of Kashmir, a disputed border region. India has blamed Pakistan for the attack, which Islamabad denies. Here's what we know so far. What happened with India's strikes. India launched Operation Sindoor in the early hours of Wednesday morning local time, Tuesday night Eastern, in both Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Indian officials said 9 sites were targeted, but claimed no Pakistani civilian, economic, or military sites were struck. They said the 25-minute operation targeted terrorist infrastructure belonging to 2 militant groups, Lashkar... So get patient with me. Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. The name Sindoor appears to be a reference to the red vermilion or powder many Hindu women wear on their foreheads after marriage. The April tourist massacre, which singled out men as victims, left several Indian women widowed. But Pakistan is painting a different picture of the strikes, saying civilians were killed and mosques were hit. CNN has yet to verify those claims. A Pakistani military spokesperson said 6 locations were hit with 24 strikes. Some of those strikes hit the densely populated province of Punjab, Pakistan's military said, and were the deepest India has struck inside Pakistan since 1971, when the two countries fought one of their 4 wars. India shelling has also hit an intake structure on the Nosari dam on the Neelam River in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, a Pakistani security source told CNN on Wednesday. The Neelam is part of the sprawling Indus River system, a vital resource supporting hundreds of millions of livelihoods across Pakistan and northern India. How did Pakistan respond? Pakistani security sources claimed they had shot down 5 Indian Air Force jets and 1 drone during India's attack. They did not say exactly where or how the jets were downed, but said 3 Rafale jets were among those planes. India's Rafale fighter jets are prized military assets that it bought from France only a few years ago. The dogfight between the Pakistani and Indian fighter jets was one of the largest and longest in recent aviation history, a senior Pakistani security source told CNN. A total of 125 fighter jets battled for over an hour, with neither side leaving its own airspace, according to the source, who detailed that the missile exchanges were happening at distances sometimes greater than 160 kilometers. Neither side was prepared to send their pilots over the border because of a much smaller dogfight in 2019. An Indian Air Force pilot was shot down on Pakistani territory and paraded on TV before being returned to India. A humiliation, he said, neither side wanted this time. Okay. Crazy stuff. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif claimed on Wednesday evening that Pakistan's Air Force had blown the Indian jets to smithereens. India has not confirmed any planes were lost. CNN has not been able to verify the claim. An eyewitness and local government official said an unidentified aircraft crashed in the village of Wuhan in India-administered Kashmir. Photos published by the AFP news agency showed aircraft wreckage lying in a field next to a red brick building. It was not immediately clear from the photos who the aircraft belonged to. Sharif said on Wednesday the country has every right to respond, calling India's actions an act of war. Sharif called on Pakistan's armed forces to avenge the loss of innocent Pakistani lives after an emergency National Security Committee meeting on Wednesday. The death toll in Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir has risen to 31, with 57 injured. Pakistani military spokesman Ahmad Sharif Chowdhury said on Wednesday night local time. Chowdhury said those killed include teenagers and children, the youngest of whom was 3 years old. 12 civilians in Indian-administered Kashmir were also killed by shelling by Pakistani troops from across the border, a senior Indian defense source told CNN, who added that 57 people had been injured. On Wednesday, the two sides also exchanged shelling and gunfire across the line of control, the de facto border that divides Kashmir. Authorities in Indian-administered Kashmir have ordered citizens to evacuate from areas deemed dangerous, saying accommodation, food, and medicine will be provided. The strikes have disrupted flights, with Pakistan closing parts of its airspace. Multiple major international airlines are avoiding flying over Pakistan, while several Indian airlines have reported disrupted flights and closed airports in the country's north. Some context, there have been regular exchanges of gunfire along the line of control in the weeks following the Pahalgam massacre. What prompted all of this? What is Kashmir? Muslim-majority Kashmir has been a flashpoint in India-Pakistan relations since both countries gained their independence from Britain in 1947. The two nations to emerge from the bloody partition of British India, Hindu-majority India, and Muslim-majority Pakistan, both claimed Kashmir in full and months after becoming independent, fought their first of 3 wars over the territory. The divided region is now one of the most militarized places in the world. India has long accused Pakistan of harboring militant groups there that conduct attacks across the border, something Islamabad has long denied. The massacre in the tourist hotspot of Pahalgam in April sparked widespread anger in India, putting heavy pressure on the Hindu nationalist government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India immediately blamed Islamabad, sparking tit-for-tat retaliatory measures in which both countries downgraded ties, canceled visas for each other's citizens, and saw India pull out of a key water-sharing treaty. What could come next? The 3 previous wars over Kashmir have each been bloody. The last one in 1999 killed more than 1,000 Pakistani troops by the most conservative estimates. In the decades since, militant groups have fought Indian security forces with violence, killing tens of thousands. The two countries have clashed multiple times, most recently in 2019, when India conducted airstrikes in Pakistan after it blamed Islamabad for a suicide car bomb attack in the region. But those recent clashes did not explode into all-out war. Both sides are aware of the risks. Since 1999, the two countries have worked to strengthen their militaries, including arming themselves with nuclear weapons. How is the world reacting? The strikes have raised global alarm and pleas for the two nations to prevent further escalation. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres voiced deep concern over India's strikes, warning that the world cannot afford a military confrontation between the two nations. The United States, which had urged restraint from both countries last week, said it was closely monitoring developments, according to a State Department spokesperson. We are aware of the reports. However, we have no assessment to offer at this time. The spokesperson said Tuesday, this remains an evolving situation, and we are closely monitoring developments. The United Arab Emirates, China, and Japan have also called for both sides to de-escalate. Pakistani Nobel Peace Prize winner Malala, it's Malala. I was reading it as a name. I'm like, it's her last name is Yousafzai, but it's Malala. Has called on both sides to de-escalate tensions. Hatred and violence are our common enemies, not each other. She posted to X. I strongly urge leaders in India and Pakistan to take steps to de-escalate tensions, protect civilians, especially children. And unite against the forces of division. I mean, yeah, it's like we don't need another Gaza-Israel happening. A senior Indian government official told CNN that New Delhi had briefed its international counterparts on the steps it had taken, including the U.S., UAE, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. But because I think that we are a little bit selective about the kinds of conflicts that we talk about, I wanted to make sure to cover this on this show. All right. And then moving on to the main story. This story is my main story this week. It was, I didn't necessarily want to talk in depth about Hasan Piker while I was running for mayor, but I can talk about it now. When I started my campaign, I asked a lot of my followers and people who listen to this show and people who listen to GWF, I asked them about online political people that you thought it would be good for me to collab with. And overwhelmingly, the number one answer was Hasan Piker. And I knew about Hasan Piker, but I wasn't super familiar with his content. So obviously, before I had my team reach out to Hasan Piker, which I ultimately did not, I, of course, did my own research on the guy. And I got to be honest, I was left speechless. I truly do not understand how people who are fans of my content are also fans of his content. I think this guy is a fucking nutcase, for lack of a better phrase. But he has become a major power player on the left. He is referred to often as the left's Joe Rogan, and which should not be flattering. The New York Times put out a really complimentary kind of fluff piece about him, which the Free Press then responded to with a much less flattering article, and the Daily Mail in the UK also covered this. So this is not like I want to say like fuck Hasan Piker. That's not what I wanted to talk about. But I wanted to. It's just really for me, this main story this week is about being really looking into who we are getting our news from and why you like why do you like Hasan Piker? Because he's charismatic, because he's hot, because he's like, what is it that you saw of his that really spoke to you? Because he's edgy, because he's a bad boy. Like, can you email me at withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com and I like, can you show me some examples of content that he did that you really like? Or summarize, like in a paragraph or two, why you thought that he was someone that running for mayor I should be collaborating with. Because I gotta be honest, I was like a little bit horrified after I looked into it and certainly did not reach out. And then, like I said, another candidate ended up, prancing about with a town with him, which made me question that candidate. It was a candidate that him parading around with Hasan Piker made me less interested in voting for him, not more. That's what I'll say about this. All right, let's go into this New York Times article, and I'm sure I'll have a bunch of freaking problems because the New York Times articles are so hard to get to load. I don't really know. Do you want to start reading this? Give my voice a break, and like also maybe like let me let this load a little bit.
Sure.
People like your reading.
Oh, I did have fun today reading 1-star reviews for Blake Lively's Another Simple Favor out to Alex while she was driving us both in. That was nice.
Oh, God.
Hasan Piker thinks being a man is simple. Like many of the successful...
Well, read the title. It's from the New York Times, A Progressive Mind in a Body Made for the Manosphere. Hasan Piker pumps iron, likes weapons, and wears pearls. His brand of masculinity has won him many fans online and has been a useful vehicle for his politics. Okay, now we can start.
Hasan Piker thinks being a man is simple. Like many of the successful internet personalities who appeal to a generation of young men, Mr. Piker, a 33-year-old Twitch and YouTube streamer, is a bro. He likes weapons, inhales supplements, and uses nicotine patches, and ruminates endlessly on the legacy of LeBron James. But unlike many of his contemporaries, Mr. Piker, an avowed socialist, is just as at ease dressing in French-made drag as he is on a basketball court. In the 6 years since he started his daily online broadcast about culture and politics, Mr. Piker has become a streaming star. He has about 4.5 million viewers combined on YouTube and Twitch, the platform widely popular with Americans who came of age during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the most reductive way, it just comes down to confidence. That's what people are talking about when it comes to masculinity, Piker said in an interview. We're talking about confidence. The confidence carries over into Mr. Piker's discussion of politics. On his streams, conversations about dating, gaming, or exercising often turn into rants supporting organized labor, universal health care, or LGBTQ rights.
And those are all great things.
He will just frequently pivot from criticizing the Democratic Party or the Israeli government to slamming right-wing comedians. His fluency between culture and ideology has led many to brand Mr. Piker a Joe Rogan of the left. If Joe Rogan had a mop top and painted his nails. There we go. It's a picture of him. Mr. Piker's success on camera, in some part, has been aided by the fact that he is, by conventional standards, a very handsome man. He's 6'4" tall and built like a professional athlete, with a square jaw, a beard, and a head of thick dark hair. It's the one aspect that many of my haters can't shake, Mr. Piker said of his appearance in a Twitch broadcast last year. They can't turn around and be like, "You're not hot." His physique is the result of the intense fitness regime that on a Sunday morning in January involved repeated sets of squats with the 275-pound barbell, Romanian deadlifts, and walking lunges. It's ironic because, like a lot of things, those Sigma grindset guys are constantly talking about regimens and being an alpha dog, Mr. Piker said, referring to subjects of memes about masculinity that are commonplace in right-wing discourse online. I do live that life, but then I have the diametrically opposite politics.
This part annoys me because they act like no one with progressive views, like Hasan Piker is the only man with progressive views to have abs. And it's like, I'm dating someone who has progressive views and has abs. It is possible. Like,
he has views? That's news to me. That rules. Protected by
someone's sour.
What? Never. No, I just love that if you go to like the celeb cam at a Knicks game, it's like all the most left-leaning, milquetoast, like NBC approved stars. But this is the one dude who like he likes basketball, so he's the Joe Rogan of the left.
Right.
Fuck off. Protected by Jock Insurance. Indeed, tens of thousands of viewers may watch his videos for his political views, but many also tune in for the view of Mr. Piker himself, whose social media profiles are littered with suggestive images of his muscly body in states of undress, or thirst traps, as the pictures are known. Some of his fans scrape, screenshot, clip, and repackage them into fan cams that travel across the internet, glorifying Mr. Piker's appearance and indirectly his beliefs.
Yeah, like to me, like Hasan Piker feels like the original Luigi.
Okay. Yeah, just a hot guy you can get behind. Emma Morgan, a 27-year-old researcher, is among them. A lot of people are just really shallow online. There's a stigma of if you care about marginalized people, if you care about these issues, you must be a weak basement-dwelling dude. If I have to make a fan cam to radicalize people, she added, then I will.
Oh, Emma, you're really doing the Lord's work. Thank you.
This is like the discourse around James Dean 10 years ago, by the way. Porn star James Dean.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like 10 years ago, James Dean, and he was gay. Okay. You mean the porn star James Dean, also familiar with him.
Hasan might be too. Mr. Piker approaches getting dressed with the same meticulousness as he does working out. Each day he streams. He typically posts a selfie of his outfit before he starts. His clothing choice can sometimes be as provocative as his opinions.
Oh, my God.
The New York Times wrote this, the paper of record. On a recent trip to Japan, Mr. Piker wore a tight French maid's outfit, a pair of fuzzy cat ears, and a demure string of pearls while streaming from one of the country's maid cafes.
Great. Enjoy. Truly enjoy your life. I don't care. Since I was a little girl, I've loved Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror. Like, I love when men dress like in female clothing, but like, what are we doing here?
During you're changing hearts and minds, Corinne. During a Twitch stream in 2023, Mr. Piker
that might be the title for today's audio episode, Changing Hearts and Minds. Hasan Piker.
Mr. Piker asked viewers to participate in a live demographic survey. Those who did offered a sense of his audience. About 70% of participants identified as male, more than 60% identified as being younger than 30, and about 40% identified as having a sexual orientation other than straight.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Piker benefits from quote-unquote jock insurance, says Tristan Bridges, a sociologist who studies masculinity and gender in the University of California, Santa Barbara. You wonder why they're defunding universities.
I heard you laughing as you were saying that, but a sociologist studying masculinity and gender, I think, is actually very important and interesting.
Okay,
I
sure.
would love to go to that class.
Don't give my tax dollars to underwrite that class. I don't care about it. The term is used to describe how men with a lot of masculine gender capital are generally given more leeway to do things like challenge norms and make mistakes, he added. That's what this guy's job is, by the way. Just reporting on these kind of articles.
But I actually think that's super important.
Stinks on ice. These are some more of his fashion choices.
Oh God, I like them. I just don't like him.
Mr. Piker's followers say that by wearing jewelry in his nails, he has helped to promote different forms of gender presentation. Yeah, so does Big J Okerson.
Yeah, I know. I feel like he's like appropriating nail paints, and I don't like it.
No, literally, this dude and Big J have basically the same fashion sense.
I like that Big J takes fashion risks.
Yeah, because he's whatever. The jocks are allowed to break the rules and not have consequences for it, Mr. Bridges said, adding that Mr. Piker's idea of masculinity was less rigid than more traditional versions centered on the belief that America was easier and better when everybody played the roles they were designed to play. Jordan Dean, a 19-year-old gender studies student who follows...
We're seeing a real theme here.
Mm-hmm. A 19-year-old, gender studies student who follows Mr. Piker said that the part that he plays up the most is definitely that he's a bro, cisgender, heterosexual white guy. Mr. Dean, a transgender man, added, watching him be comfortable painting his nails, wearing dresses, it's not revolutionary things, but he's showing that it's okay to be a cis guy and experiment with gender presentation.
This guy is like radicalizing you because he's convinced you that he's safe because he's doing these things like painting his nails and wearing like feminine leaning clothing. And I really think this is like complete scam artist behavior.
Well, I mean, just look at this guy, a 19-year-old gender studies student who is also transgender. It's like, do you have any skills other than your gender?
But I think what Hasan Piker is doing and monetizing is he's preying on people who feel unheard and overlooked, which is actually genius, but not good.
Gains, guns, and gay culture. Mm-hmm. Mr. Piker typically streams from the studio at his home in West Hollywood, California, a modern townhouse he shares with Kaya, his Bernese Mountain Dog mix that weighs more than 100 pounds. He can spend up to
That's definitely not a rescue.
He can spend up to
Wait, let me look at his let's look at is Hasan Piker's dog a rescue? Because they do have, breed specific rescues, but Bernese Mountain Dog seems like maybe no. Oh, he said how he found it says he adopts a dog, but I don't know if that's his dog. Oh, no, there's a whole Reddit thread. I can't believe Hasan bought a black market dog.
Whoa.
Oh, I knew someone would have a problem with this. Okay.
It's amazing where you draw your line, but I respect it.
Yeah, well, then one was it seems like he's had multiple dogs over the years, and one is a rescue, and then he also did this thing where he paid adoption fees in 2023 at a bunch of LA shelters. So I'm sure he did that. All right, whatever.
He can spend up to 10 hours a day recording in a studio where there are no fewer than 10 swords and shells festooned with video game art and other knickknacks.
Oh God, I know this guy, the sword guy. Okay, go on.
Hey, I want to be a sword guy.
Oh God.
There's also a black assault rifle, which Mr. Piker was quick to note was fake. It's airsoft, he said. I like guns, but I would never keep one in the house. Yuck. While Mr. Rogan's podcast typically features...
That yuck was Mike, not me, everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, just you're a fan of guns as a concept. You know what I mean? If you want a gun, it's because you want to protect your home. You
could want a gun because you like the sport of shooting. I like shooting at a range, but I don't want a gun in my house.
A gun is a tool, as Shane once said.
Oh boy.
And I'm talking about Shane from the 1950s cowboy movie. While Mr. Rogan's podcast typically features interviews with guests that meander into politics, Mr. Piker often approaches the topic alone on solo streams. Though he has recorded with the likes of Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Representative AOC of New York, last year he streamed from the DNC, Mr. Piker disagrees with the comparisons to Mr. Rogan and has characterized what each does as being completely different. His marathon streaming sessions are fueled partly by cartons of Zyn, cans of Diet Dr. Pepper, and energy drink. Mr. Piker, who fasts daily as part of his fitness routine, usually consumes only coffee until around 2 p.m. when he has his first meal of precisely 1.1 pounds of roasted chicken breast with low-carb pita, meze, and sauces.
This guy is making fun of you all to your faces. Like, he's making fun. I don't know what to tell you.
He's just meal prepping, bruh.
Okay.
He says his persona is built upon authentic interest in fitness culture and style and politics that he has had throughout his life. Mr. Piker was in a fraternity at Rutgers University.
Oh, my
yes.
God.
But he has also
How unimpressive.
been a lifelong gamer and anime fan. He moved to Los Angeles area in 2013 after graduating from Rutgers and telling his parents, both college professors, that he intended to apply to law school. By the way, that's when Ray Rice was at Rutgers, I believe. Let's see if he cheered for that woman beater. Instead, he got a job in ad sales at the Young Turks, a progressive news network founded by his uncle.
Yeah.
How did he get a job there?
Yeah, I know. That's another thing. So it's not only like the merits of who we get our information from, it's also who are they associated with, right? So this is like nepotism in media.
Yeah. I mean, the same way I was looking into who backed David Hogg's pillow company. It's like, who's backing... I'm serious. That's a real thing that this kid was a breath away from Peter Thiel money. Mm-hmm. So this kid to be that close to the Young Turks, it's like, what are we doing here? Mr. Piker does not deny that he is a Nepo baby. He said, a perfect society is one in which those types of advantages don't matter.
Oh, how convenient for you.
By 2016, he was regularly appearing in videos on the Young Turks social media accounts. He started streaming on Twitch 2 years later. Fashion, he said, is something he has loved since he was a too big teen growing up.
Yeah, we get it. You're very tall.
In Turkey, where he inhaled American culture through TV shows like The Boondocks.
Nothing says America.
Like Aaron McGruber's The Boondocks. Mr. Piker, who is straight.
How many times are they going to say? They're saying he's straight so much in this article that it makes me think he's gay. Like, what?
Protest a little too much?
Yeah, like, what's going on?
Mr. Piker, who is straight, is aware that wearing pearls and painting his nails can suggest otherwise, inviting attention from gay men. Last year, when a gay content creator asked Piker if he was an ally in an interview at a Pride event in Los Angeles, he jokingly said no, then playfully added, "I'm a foe."
Oh, he's flirting.
Mr. Piker then spanked the interviewer, who was wearing an American flag Speedo swimsuit in front of a bus emblazoned with the logo for Grindr, the gay dating app. Of his image, he said, "I don't feel the need to present myself in any way that I am not."
Oh my God, he's literally flirting with gay men and women to get views. This is insane.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to accuse Taylor of queer baiting, this dude. Always unfiltered, sometimes extreme. Mr. Piker is similarly unfiltered with his viewpoints. Some can be extreme. A vocal critic of the U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, Mr. Piker has been labeled anti-American by people across the political spectrum for saying the country deserved the September 11th attacks. His recent accusations that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza and his diatribes against the Zionist movement had led many supporters of Israel, including liberals like Representative Richie Torres of New York, to call Mr. Piker anti-Semitic. I find anti-Semitism to be completely unacceptable, Mr. Piker said on a call in April. I find the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism to be very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I also looked off the records to see other things. He said some crazy shit about Jews, but he has to say this.
His video streams are peppered with expletive vulgarities and other language that many have disavowed in the name of political correctness. He blocks commenters for what he sees as overt hate speech, but not for speaking critically when they challenge his views on topics like transgender rights or the war in Gaza. Some have accused him of sharing misinformation on streams, but Mr. Piker says his aim is to provide factual information along with his own views. There's Kaya. John Favreau, a founder of the center-left podcast Pod Save America and its liberal parent company, Crooked Media, said Mr. Piker's willingness to engage with viewpoints outside his own was another trait that might appeal to younger men who had swung towards the right. He wants to reach those people too, Mr. Favreau said. But the way Mr. Piker presents himself could work against him, said Reese Peck, a professor of media culture at the College of Staten Island and the author of Fox Populism, Branding Conservatism as Working Class. He's more events in Soho than he is Eastern Kentucky, as Mr. Peck put it. That bi-coastal, stylish, hip masculinity has limitations to appeal to a broader array of young men, especially working class young men. Clancy Campbell, a 20-year-old fan of Mr. Piker's who is studying to become an esthetician, said the difference between Mr. Piker and his right-wing...
Did they talk to anyone over 25 for this article?
No, he said his fan base is primarily young men under 30. Okay. Between Mr. Piker and his right-leaning counterparts will be boiled down to the amount of care and where you put it. With the right-wing media and stuff, they care almost too much about issues that don't matter, he said. With Hasan, it's like he cares, but in the right places.
Yeah.
Alec Flynn, a 28-year-old comedian in Los Angeles whose material draws from his life as a straight man,
ooh, edgy,
said he did not religiously follow Mr. Piker, but he understood the appeal of Mr. Piker's brand of masculinity.
Well, thank God we got him for the interview.
The more... Yeah, is this your buddy you just wanted to give like a $20 interview fee to?
Straws here.
The more authentically yourself you are, the more effective you will be, said Mr. Flynn, who was also in a college fraternity. At the end of the day, he said, he added, people like frat bros.
That's the closing fucking quote of this article? Oh my God.
I mean,
I don't even this was like basically a 17-minute piece. I don't even know what this was just kind of, this truly was just like a fluff piece. Is Hasan Piker's kind of been, is he promoting something besides himself? Is he promoting something right now? Does he have like a book or a movie coming out? I don't, what? Okay. So anyway, so that came out, and I was like, okay. I actually saw the Free Press article before I saw the New York Times article, which was weird because I subscribe to both. So in response, my friend, who is also very politically informed, told me that in response then to this New York Times article, that the Free Press put out an article kind of speaking a little bit more who Hasan Piker is. This is, they called it the handsome face of terror apologia. Apologia? How do you say that word? Is that a apologia? Hasan Piker has been called a model for the future of progressive media. He also calls Jews inbred and says Zionists should be treated like neo-Nazis. On Sunday, the New York Times ran a bouncy profile of an online influencer who has made millions telling Gen Z that socialism rocks. His name is Hasan Abi Piker. And he has 2.8 million followers on the live stream platform Twitch, where he broadcasts live from his West Hollywood home for 8 hours every day, commenting on everything from the latest Supreme Court ruling to his workout regimen. The Times' headline initially described him as a progressive mind in a MAGA body. It later changed to a progressive mind in a body made for the manosphere and spilled much ink analyzing his sex appeal. Buried in the prose is a passing acknowledgement of a far darker side of Piker's appeal. His diatribes against the Zionist movement have led many supporters of Israel to call Mr. Piker anti-Semitic, the Times observes. It then quotes Piker's response to this allegation. I find the conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism to be very dangerous, before moving swiftly on to Piker's use of expletives and vulgarities. What exactly are Piker's diatribes against the Zionist movement? The glowing Times profile doesn't say. Perhaps readers will conclude he's simply fierce in his criticism of the current Israeli government. That's not at all the case. Because Piker records for up to 10 hours a day and has done so for 5 years, it is hard to paint a comprehensive picture of his views. But even a cursory look at his work reveals a person who dismisses violence against Israelis, celebrates Islamic terrorists, and advocates for treating pro-Israel Americans as neo-Nazis. It doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th, Piker said while live streaming on May 22nd, 2024. It doesn't change the dynamic for me. Apparently, not even the most brutal, inhumane crimes committed during Hamas's October 7th, 2023 invasion of Israel could justify the Israeli military response, which he repeatedly refers to as an ethnic cleansing campaign. Just this week, he claimed on Twitch that in a totally just world, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. The vast majority of Jews identify as Zionists. And again, well, I do agree that being anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic is different. This use of the word Zionist as if it is so dirty, I think, I don't know, people say, oh, are you a Zionist? They want to say, are you a dirty Jew? But they're not. And all Zionist means, again, we've cleared this up time and time again, is someone who advocates for an independent Jewish state. That's what it is. So I don't know. I mean, I think someone who advocates for the killing of people in Gaza, that's bad. That's something that, so someone who's, yes, obviously it is a genocide that's happening. All of that is true. But this saying oh, are you a Zionist? What? That's a part where I think people are I don't know that everyone knows what's going on. And it's almost just become trendy to say I'm not a Zionist or I'm anti-Zionist. Huh? Anyway, he went on, you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher if they have exhibited any sort of positive feelings about the state of Israel. Now, are we talking about its existence or about its response to October 7th? Because those to me are different concepts. At the same time, Piker implies that acts of violence committed by Islamists are justified. On November 29th, 2023, he described the attacks of October 7th as a retaliation for an ongoing apartheid. Piker doesn't only justify terrorism, sometimes he glorifies it. On December 20th, 2023, Piker played a Hamas propaganda video on his live stream for an audience of 25,000. In it, dramatic music plays as members of the terrorist group forge and demo guns. The title card reads, "We will continue killing your soldiers by our locally manufactured snipers." Piker reads it aloud, then says, "Wow, there's a little message for the Americans out there as well." In January 2024, Houthi pirates seized the commercial ship in the Red Sea and took the crew hostage. Among the rebels was 19-year-old Rashid al-Haddad, who went viral in the U.S. for posting videos of himself from the vessel. Al-Haddad later denied affiliation with the Houthis. Piker tracked down al-Haddad via social media and interviewed him on his stream with the help of a translator. In the interview, Piker compared al-Haddad to the pirate hero from a popular anime called One Piece. In a later stream on October 14th, 2024, Piker likened al-Haddad, who grew up in Yemen, to a victim of the Holocaust. For most of his life, he has withstood genocide, Piker said, before saying that speaking to al-Haddad was like talking to fucking Anne Frank, basically. Later, in a now deleted tweet, al-Haddad posted this image of a man impaled on a stake with the caption, "The execution that we will carry out on all Zionists." And I'm gonna click on it. Oh, it's like an old timey picture, but it's like fully like Vlad the Impaler style, like impaled through the mouth. Which again is basically that's what he thinks anyone who just thinks that the Jewish state of Israel should exist, impaled. Okay. On September 28th, 2024, Piker shared what he called a music video, which was actually a Houthi propaganda clip. In it, gun-toting Islamists sing a rallying cry to defeat the masses of infidels. They march over burning American and Israeli flags and wave banners emblazoned with the Houthi credo, which translates to "God is great, death to America, death to Israel, damn the Jews, victory to Islam." When the beat drops, it's like jihad drops in your heart, Piker said to an audience of nearly 30,000. Of the Houthis, he said, they're very musical people. Piker is stratospherically popular among Gen Z. The year that Hamas invaded Israel, Piker was the fourth most watched American on Twitch, where 41% of users are between 16 and 24 years old. But his influence reaches far beyond the platform. Many of his live streams are clipped, recut, and sort of virality on other social media platforms, including YouTube, TikTok, and X. Where the Times gets it right in its assertion that the 33-year-old influencer is perceived as a savior of American progressivism. In an era when the Democrats seem at a loss to counter the broy populism of the MAGA right, Piker uses the MAGA-coded activities of weightlifting and trips to the gun range to make socialist politics hip, courting an audience of young and very online men who have been drifting right. Mainstream news outlets have called him the AOC of Twitch, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being one of the only other Democrats to successfully wield social media and a model for the future of progressive media. In the past year alone, he's appeared at the Democratic National Convention as well as the left's favorite podcast, Pod Save America, and the tour of Senator Bernie Sanders and AOC herself. He's also done an interview with Jordan Klepper for The Daily Show, set to release in mid-May. That'll be interesting to see. One of the Democrat strategists keen to get Piker more involved in the party was Brianna Wu. In the run-up to last year's presidential election, it was her job to reach young voters, and she saw how Piker connected with them. So she began brainstorming ways to get him plugged in with Democratic campaigns. But her enthusiasm for Piker quickly faded when she saw him broadcast terrorist propaganda on his Twitch live stream. The more you understand about what he's actually saying, she told the Free Press, you realize he's actually terrible for the country. And honestly, leave it to, that's very interesting. Okay. Oh my God. Wow. Sorry. I'm going into other things. He is part of this push that's brainwashed America's young people into thinking the enemies of democracy are actually our friends, Wu said. If you're asking yourself who is talking to your children on the left, it's Hasan and Hasan's orbiters, which is fairly terrifying. In Piker's Reddit community, r/Hasan_Piker, which has 185,000 active users, fans admit that Piker has radicalized them. And again, this is answering a cult with a cult, in my opinion. And again, even the same behavior with like the Luigi stuff, right? Like it's just like this. It's just like it turns these people who turn our brains to mush, and then we just mindlessly follow them. You know, and you kind of feel people are interested to latch on to somebody inspiring and follow them. And I really I really, 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 really think you shouldn't feel that way about anyone. Like truly, not even your mom and dad. And brag about convincing family members that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. I mean, it is committing genocide in Gaza, but there's a lot of other problems here. Many young people seem to draw their rhetoric directly from Piker and the militant anti-Zionism he constantly promotes on his channel. Take the word inbred, which anti-Israel activists have repeatedly used on college campuses to refer to their Jewish peers during heated confrontations. Piker first referred to Israelis as inbred in March of 2024. Just 1 month later, the first instance of Jewish students being called inbred at a pro-Palestine campus protest was recorded. Protesters at Columbia University told a group of Jewish students, "You guys are all inbred." Following the Columbia incident, Piker showed a news clip to his live stream of 2 of the Jewish students recalling the hateful remarks on air, after which he burst into laughter. Piker, and he was nominated, like there's like some... he was nominated for most anti-Semitic person of the year by like a Jewish organization, and he like loved it and was bragging about it. I saw this another time. Some Edik Award Hasan Piker nominee. Who is this by? Anti-Semitic. Okay, so yeah, it's the U.S.-based pro-Israel organization Stop Anti-Semitism, and it's written in that way because I'm reading this from the newarab.com, so obviously they're not going to be fans, but of Israel. But he was nominated for Anti-Semite of the Year, and he did a whole YouTube video called "Am I Anti-Semite of the Year?" where he was just like so proud of being nominated. Piker himself is aware of his influence on young people. In November, he posted a news article about that rise in pro-Hamas sentiment among Jewish American teenagers to his Discord server with the comment, "I did this." And like when you know how it's like almost when you're young, sometimes it can be edgy or cool or rebellious to hate who you are as a reaction to how you grew up. If you didn't grow up in like in a comforting or healthy environment, like he's preying on those kind of people, and there's a lot of those kind of people. And then there's a news article. Yeah, because 1/3 of Jewish American teenagers say they sympathize with Hamas, and then Hasan Piker says, "I did this." How did Piker build such a massive following? Born in New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is also where Rutgers is, so that you're getting your advice from a guy who literally didn't even leave the town he grew up in to go to college, just so you know. Piker grew up in Turkey before returning to America for college. So where did he? Well, I guess he went to Turkey in the interim, but how long was he in both places? And that's interesting that he was born in New Jersey and then went back to Turkey and then came back to college. Okay. His upbringing was Muslim, but he said he doesn't practice the religion. After graduating, he interned at the Young Turks, as we know, the left-wing news outlet founded by his uncle, Cenk Uygur, where he launched The Breakdown, a web series explaining political issues, and quickly gained viral fame. In 2018, he started streaming on Twitch, a YouTube-like platform where content creators record themselves reacting live to anything from video game tournaments to breaking news. There, Piker soon learned that siding with radical Islamists against America was a good way to get a lot of attention. And there we have it, where it starts. And this is the problem, right? So I see exactly what he's doing, and it's very smart, and it's a very smart way to make money, because when I say we did need someone like this on the left, I don't mean that we actually needed someone like this on the left. I meant that this was a spot that was empty and raring to be filled on the left. And Hasan Piker is very smart in that he saw that, he found it, and he monetized it. Because he knows, and we've seen this happen on the right all the time. And Coulter was like an old school, example of this. But if you go, people don't want to see people thinking things out and being in the middle and having conversations and critically thinking. People want to see people going hard in one direction. And Hasan Piker geniusly saw there was a space for that on the left, or wherever the fuck he is, and he took it. And that's smart. In 2019, he went viral for saying on his Twitch stream that America deserved 9/11. And it's interesting because I feel like I've had conversations, not that where I say America deserved 9/11, but I've certainly had conversations, and I was in like a sophomore in high school when 9/11 happened. But I've definitely had conversations, not where I said America deserved 9/11, but where I'm like, most other countries have experienced a terrorist attack of that level. And so it was naive of us to think that something like 9/11 would never happen to us. And it was very, in my opinion, American of us to think that. So obviously what he says is fucked up. Like, I do understand to a certain extent where he's coming from. Piker later clarified that while the nearly 3,000 innocent people who were murdered on September 11th, 2001 did not deserve their fate, he believed the CIA's role in the formation of Al-Qaeda made the attack an example of Americans' chickens coming home to roost. His success on Twitch meant he could quit the Young Turks and stream full-time, which he did beginning in January 2020. A 2021 Twitch leak revealed he earned $2.8 million from streaming between 2019 and 2021. His West Hollywood home is worth $2.7 million, and he drives a Porsche Taycan, which he bought for $200,000 in 2022. And so just so you know, just so you're aware, the people pitching socialism to you, which do we really know what socialism is? Like, is this something like, do you actually know what socialism is? It's like everyone's kind of getting the same, right? It is by definition an economic and political philosophy encompassing diverse economic and social systems characterized by social ownership. Okay, that's what socialism is. It's very hot right now, but are we even knowing what it means? Someone who's pitching socialism to you, selling it to you, radicalizing people on that idea. His home is worth $2.7 million in West Hollywood, which is fine. Enjoy yourself. Just don't pitch socialism to me as well, because you don't want to be a part of it. You would like to pitch it to everyone else, but you don't want to have to be subject to socialism, because if we're all getting an equal cut, you're not getting a $2.7 million house and you're not driving a Porsche Taycan. And this is the part that fucking pisses me off about it. But Piker's rise isn't just the story of a young man realizing he can get rich by telling young Americans to hate their country. And that, I love this point. And this is why I will never promote hating America, because it is so trendy right now, and I think it is so dangerous. And love their enemies. It's the story of a platform that lets him promote it. Twitch's 61-year-old CEO Dan Clancy is an apparent fan of Piker. In an interview with Bloomberg in April 2023, Clancy said he appreciates the streamer's frankness and bluntness. He's comfortable saying what he believes, he added. Clancy, who has worked at Twitch since 2019 and served as CEO since March of 2023, has come under fire for his company's stance on Israel. Shortly after the attacks of October 7th, Twitch banned the users with Israeli IP addresses from creating new accounts on the platform. We did this to prevent uploads of graphic material related to the attack and to protect the safety of users, Twitch, a subsidiary of Amazon, said in an official statement. But it was the first time Twitch had banned signups from users in an active war zone. No such ban had ever been issued in Ukraine, Sudan, or Myanmar. More recently, in October of 2024, Democratic New York Representative Richie Torres, who I follow him, but this is a whole other guy going off a whole other. So I don't necessarily want to like back up anything Representative Richie Torres is saying, because again, he's a Democrat, but like he's one of those ones who's like, is he? The same way as like Cuomo, you're like, is he? So Democratic New York Representative Richie Torres wrote an open letter to Clancy expressing explicit concern about Twitch's tolerance of extreme anti-Semitic rhetoric. Hasan Piker has emerged as the poster child for the post-October 7th outbreak of anti-Semitism in America, Torres wrote, arguing that the influencer's channel merits scrutiny from federal law enforcement and that the time has come for Twitch to stop popularizing those who popularize anti-Semitism. In an official statement issued 3 days later, Clancy said, "There is no place on Twitch for racism, hatred, or harassment of any kind, including anti-Semitism and Islamophobia." Piker's account remained live. A couple of months later, in a virtual town hall Clancy hosted in December, 3 users asked 3 separate but related questions in the live stream chat. 1, do you plan on addressing the anti-Semitism problem? 2, why do you not ban streamers that show terror propaganda on your website? 3, do you care to comment about the ADL and anti-Semitism on Twitch? And the ADL is the American Defamation League, just as a reminder. All right. Twitch offered no answers. Each of the accounts that asked one of these questions were reportedly banned within a minute, which is crazy. You should be allowed to ask a question. But again, Twitch is privately owned, so they kind of are allowed to do what they want in that way. In his statement, Clancy said, "The views shared by streamers on Twitch are not the views of Twitch, nor are they my personal views, but there are those in senior positions at Twitch who have expressed strong anti-Israel sentiments." Twitch's senior manager of inclusive marketing, Bridget Kiermateng, shared a post on X 5 days after October 7th, criticizing people who donated to Israeli relief funds in the wake of the terrorist attack. "Y'all are truly rooting for the oppressor," Kiermateng wrote, "read a damn book." The platform's head of community marketing, Mary Kish, responded to a post on X that said, "I'm also saddened that while you rightfully share the devastation in Gaza multiple times, you didn't once comment on the facts that Hamas literally murdered babies and have over 200 hostages." Kish replied, "You cannot convince me to support genocide." And Twitch senior trust and safety manager Fadze Madzingira enforces policies on violence, violent extremism, and youth safety at Twitch, according to her LinkedIn. Before working at Twitch, she was fired from her post as director of online safety at Ofcom, the United Kingdom's independent telecom regulator, allegedly for anti-Israel social media activity, including liking an Instagram post which called the United Kingdom's support of Israel a vile colonial alliance. I mean, I feel like I guess maybe that it's too much bias for that job, because I'm like, even if I don't agree with her, I think that she'd be able to like a post. Kiermateng, Kish, and Madzingira did not respond to requests for comment. When reached for comment, Clancy advised the Free Press to contact Twitch's press office, who did not respond to a request for comment. Unsatisfied with Twitch's failure to address the rise in anti-Semitism on its platform, some video creators have used their own platforms to raise awareness of it. YouTuber Willie Mack has created several videos responding to Piker's Gaza war coverage for his 212,000 subscribers, accusing him of ignoring pervasive pro-terror sentiments among his fans. Hasan is not anti-Semitic, Mack told the Free Press, but right now, with the current political climate and conditions and problems going on in the world, he is completely okay with harboring that audience and that sentiment. Dan Saltzman, a Jewish tech entrepreneur and political YouTuber, disagrees. He believes Piker is anti-Semitic, and Clancy has his head in the sand about allegations of anti-Semitism on Twitch. Saltzman stumbled across Piker's live stream for a few years ago and grew concerned about Twitch when, in 2024, he saw a clip of Clancy saying he wants to attract kids as young as 8 to use the platform. He decided to launch a website to track Jew hate on Twitch. Hasan is the #1 cause of normalizing this hatred toward Jews, Saltzman told the Free Press. Saltzman himself was banned from Twitch on November 21, 2024, after repeatedly criticizing the platform's content moderation policies, as well as encouraging businesses to pull ads from Twitch and demanding Clancy step down as CEO. He is not hopeful about the site's future or about Piker's. Like any propagandist, Hasan will keep pushing the line to keep growing and trying to get more and more traction and traffic and popularity, as long as the platform is not willing to do anything to stop him, Saltzman said. It's just so insidious, so evil, the way that Twitch operates, pushing Hasan and that type of content down young people's throats, Saltzman added. I don't want my kids to grow up hating themselves because Hasan wants to have another mansion in LA and become more popular. Twitch legitimized Piker, and now the mainstream media is celebrating him. Yesterday, I reached out to Representative Torres to ask him whether he'd seen the recent profile of Piker in the New York Times. He replied with a blistering assessment. Quote, the mainstream media's lionization of Hasan Piker exposes just how deeply anti-Semitism has permeated American culture. And I actually do agree with that sentence, Torres said. You can deny the rapes and sexual violence of October 7th and still receive a flattering profile from the New York Times celebrating your iron-pumping masculinity. And that's not even the problem I have with it. I think this is so far beyond October 7th. But amid all the descriptions of Piker's attractiveness and all the photos that back it up, the Times let something small yet grimly revealing slip into its profile of the streamer. One of the images shows Piker's monitor during one of his live streams. If you zoom in, you can see a comment from a Twitch user referring to an Israeli Defense Force soldier. I'd fuck this IDF bitch to death and make his mother shove missiles up her ass. The Times has since updated the photo with the comment cropped out of the picture. Piker did not respond to a request for comment. And it says additional reporting by Olivia Reingold, who I've talked about on the show before, but Josh Code is the main author of this. And it says correction at the bottom. A previous version of this story reported that Jon Stewart interviewed Hasan Piker. It was actually Jordan Klepper who interviewed Piker for The Daily Show. This has been updated. The Free Press regrets the error. All right, so that's everything. I've been holding that in for so long. I've been really transparent throughout this election, but I didn't think it was smart of me to possibly turn Hasan Piker aside, against me, being a Jewish candidate and with his reach. But now that I'm not running anymore, I can say whatever the fuck I want again, even though I was pretty much saying whatever the fuck I wanted before, which was great. And honestly, the most freeing part of it is that I can wear clothes that I like again. That was the most stifling part of the entire experience, was that I couldn't wear like the shit that I wanted to wear, which was a decision I made. But I don't think wearing like a Celine Dion Slayer mashup t-shirt is the appropriate attire for a mayoral forum as much as I like it to be. I was already pushing the envelope enough as it was. But yeah, that's our show for today. Thank you so much to everyone again for coming on this incredible journey with me. It was not for naught. It was an incredibly illuminating experience, and I will hold it with me forever. And just thank you so much for being so supportive and interested in wanting to come on this with me. And again, I'm gonna find a way to use this information in different ways, and hopefully, work on making this a less corrupt city to live in, or if I, end up living somewhere else, to continually be involved in some way, although I doubt it will be running for office, in municipal politics, and politics and the world in general. And it was definitely this show that really inspired me to want to do that. So thanks for listening, whether you're a new listener, an old listener, an OG listener. And thanks for your donations and your support and all the work that you've done to, help get me interviews and help spotlight me and help get attention on me online. Again, I have noticed it all, truly. And I really appreciate it so much. So thanks for being a part of this. And if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, it's patreon.com/withoutacountry. Again, I don't think we, I'll tell you if we do, but I think we're good on campaign donations, and I wouldn't want you to donate to that anymore at this time. But patreon.com/withoutacountry, I'll continue making content on here. And like I said, I would like to start, kind of being able to do pieces in travel places and cover things like NatalCon and interesting stuff like that. So I have to look more into like how to actually get press passes and access to things like this. But I do think that's becoming more and more common for people who are doing online content the way I do. And of course, make sure to follow me at Philanthropy Gal on all social media. Make sure to head over and subscribe to the YouTube channel for Without a Country. And we'll figure out what I'm doing next. I don't know that I'm making an immediate return to stand up. I definitely do want to continue doing stand up though. And we'll see where the next journey takes me. Mike, do you have anything to promote?
Yeah, if you're in the New York area, come on out to Central Park this Saturday at 2 p.m. I'm going to be fighting Chris Vega in armor as part of Gladiators 2. All big promotion leading up to our giant show May 23rd at American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Get your tickets to that. Gladiators E3. It's going to be a blast.
Wait, what day is the one at American Dream Mall? I want to come to that one.
That's May 23rd. That's a Friday, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love the American Dream Mall, so really any excuse to go there is and it's such a short drive from,
Corinne, when I tell you,
yeah,
once you go to this event one time, you see like clanging and banging these swords going at it
and banging
in real life. you are going to be hooked and in on every single event.
Wait, is Fega also going to be at that one?
Fega and I are on commentary for that one.
Okay. All right. Well, would love to come and support. Got to put that in my calendar, which has really freed up as of yesterday. So, again, yeah, and truly regarding Hasan Piker, I really want to try and understand what you liked. To me, you thinking that I would like Hasan Piker is as interesting to me as when everyone thought that I would like Nanette. Like, that's where we're back to. So I want to understand. I want to understand. So please, if you're one of those people, I don't want to just, who told me, oh, Hasan Piker, or recommended Hasan Piker, send me an email withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com, because I really want to understand this, because I just think he's terrible, quite honestly. Yeah. All right. So that's the show for today. Thank you so much again. The truth is out there. The truth is in there. Love you so much. Take care. Bye. Peace.